So I want to stress not everyone is going to be seeing that chance as we make our way through the early evening. Of course, there's another round and a much better coverage going into tomorrow night. So we'll get to that right now. So welcome everyone to our severe weather coverage. Of course, we have meteorologist Andrew Stutzky here as well. We're going to be keeping an eye on these warnings and more importantly, the ones that have just popped up right around the Quad Cities and points south, and more importantly, a brand new tornado warning that had just been popped up just west of the Quad Cities itself, which does cover parts of Muscatine, even around Cedar County. This is around 5:15. We're keeping an eye on the possibility of even seeing some hail and some vivid lightning from the storms that are now just south of Iowa City. That is some good news. Nothing tornadic that we expect to see impacting the city of Iowa City. But here's what we're looking at as far as the wind velocity is concerned, okay? And this is showing that if that storm continues to take that same path, Tipton, you'll be impacted by this storm around 4:52. Anamosa, just close to 10 minutes after 5 o'clock as well. Here's a severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued, as Shelby just mentioned about a couple of minutes ago. This goes until 5:30 this evening, and it does include the immediate Quad Cities. The concern that we have with this broken line of showers and storms is that we could get a good rush of wind, maybe around 60 miles an hour, and even quarter-size hail to go with it as well. Here's the movement of that, swiftly making its way from southwest to northeast. I think we'll get eventually a speed on this, but I wouldn't be surprised if these storms are moving around 50 miles an hour or so. And part of that, northern edge of that, is located just west of 280 or right around the Interstate 280 westbound there that we see. That is something that we'll be watching. Nothing I've seen any circulation around that, but it certainly does have some very heavy rain. I think for the immediate Quad Cities, we're seeing around Preemption, Edgington, and just south of Coyne Center. That looks like it will be impacting those areas as well. But like I said, we're not quite out of the woods yet. Biggest concern is isolated tornadoes that could pop up somewhere within our viewing area, okay? Not everyone is guaranteed to see one. This is going to be a very isolated event, but the area of greatest concern hasn't changed much in the past few hours. And we're talking about areas a bit more north and west. And that's certainly in these past several hours or so, we've been seeing the best threat going on across the area. So this is the area we'll be watching. Doesn't mean that areas around Burlington, Galesburg, Kewanee, Geneseo, even around Princeton is out of the woods. Remember, we're still dealing with the situation that's going to continue on as we head into the early evening hours or so, especially going on the Illinois side. We don't expect this threat to really be coming to an end, especially for our hometowns well east of the river until maybe about 8 or 9 o'clock this evening. Okay, hopefully the threat of any tornadic activity will not be in the picture during that time, but that's something we'll have to keep a watch on. So we have this one line along the river and that other line that we see just off toward the west. You can actually see a good downpour located from that one cell that we just mentioned. You can see from our Bridgepoint camera looking off to the west, 72 degrees right now in the Quad Cities. And it has been a bit on the breezy side too, coming right out of the south, gusts around 30 miles an hour or so. Taking a look at it hour by hour, you can see that the window is very short that we see here, at least for the immediate Quad Cities, from now all the way to about 6, maybe close to 7. And then things begin to really diminish as far as the coverage as we go through the rest of the night, leave behind, I think it's going to be more of a mostly cloudy or partly cloudy sky as we go through the rest of the night. Maybe a little bit of a dry intrusion that's going to be kind of making its way around the area that may improve our skies later tonight and likely be dropping our temperatures, I would say, right around 40 degrees or so. Once again, I want to mention that we do have Morgan Strackbine in the Beast. We'll be getting to her in just a little bit. She was based around Walcott, right around the Iowa truck stop there. And we'll find out more from her in just a little bit. But I also want to go to meteorologist Andrew Stutzky. He got his nap in. That's a good thing. He's all fresh. He's ready to go. And Andrew, I'm going to let you actually be a little control in the weather desk as far as the radar is concerned. If you can go ahead and pop that up and let's get your insights on this, because right now things have been pretty consistent in what we've been dealing with as far as the timing of this level of activity for the past few days.
Yeah, we've been saying the timing was going to be in the afternoon, probably between 3 and say 8, 9 o'clock or so. And here we are at 4:30, and things are already starting to get cooking. It's been an interesting day so far. I was just talking to James when I came in. When I left work, we had very cool temperatures. We had some rain falling. Those readings were in the 40s. Now we've jumped into the 70s. And, one of those cases we didn't want to see was some sunshine breaking through. And now that has indeed taken place. And here we are talking about some severe thunderstorm warnings already that are taking place. I will tell you today, storm motions are going to be extremely fast. We're talking about movement of 60 plus miles per hour. So that means when a warning is issued, you need to take it seriously and you need to act immediately. They're going to see some very big severe thunderstorm warning and tornado polygons today. And you're already seeing that with some of these warnings because these storms are moving so quickly. That's why these polygons are going to be so big. So obviously, you got priority tornado warning there southwest and southeast of Iowa City, including north of Muscatine. But we also have to keep an eye on all of these storms here, especially the ones that can stay by themselves. You've got the one north of Aledo. We're also watching this one, especially near New Boston, just to your southeast. It has had what we call this hook echo signature to it as it's getting ready to cross into Joy there. And as long as these storms can remain discrete or away from each other, those are the ones that are going to have the best potential at being tornadic. If they stay close to each other and keep interacting with each other, that tends to decrease the threat a little bit. But I would say, yeah, the storm near New Boston and even the one that is southwest of Preemption, that's got my attention right now for sure, because you're starting to see some of those signatures indicating rotation. So again, fast-moving storms, if you get a warning, you need to take action immediately. There is actually, and we have to be careful with this.
Yeah.
I know we have sometimes we get some contamination, but that is very interesting, that signature there, southwest of Preemption. Right to the east of Illinois 94. James, I know you're seeing that too.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm getting ready to send that out note to the guys at the National Weather Service. Looks like just south of Reynolds, west of Matherville, but certainly does have a target for the Preemption area, that is for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely catching my attention. And it makes sense lining up with the radar reflectivity. We would see the inflow area coming in right in that region there, right north of Ridge Road. So that is quickly developed here in the last few minutes and absolutely got my attention. Looking at that storm near New Boston, notice we're not seeing any red next to the green, but that right there, definitely a sign that something is going on in that region. We can put our rotation tracker on there, and you can see that our algorithms are picking up a little bit of rotation there northeast of Aledo. So if you are in Preemption and you're just west of Matherville, this is something that we may see a warning pop up for within the severe thunderstorm warning. This would be heading for Coyne Center. Just putting a loop on this, we're going northeast, and that scarily kind of heads it toward the metro.
Let's go ahead and put a tracker on that, shall we, Andrew? And I think if that is kind of moving its way, and even if it makes its way right through the immediate Quad Cities, that's kind of what we're looking at. Let's kind of could we put actually a quick 1 hour loop on that as well?
Sure.
And give everyone an idea what we're looking at. And that's kind of the direction we're a little concerned about what we're seeing. I did leave a note once again to the guys at the National Weather Service. They're the ones certainly that issue the warnings, but certainly what we're seeing on our radar here is definitely some type of circulation that is quickly making its way from south to north, and it could be impacting parts of Milan, around Coyne Center, Taylor Ridge, and even around Reynolds. And if it continues that same movement, it does have eyes of even maybe making its way in Moline, right where we are, just west of the I-74 bridge itself. So that's going to be certainly a storm that we're going to have to really keep an eye on here, Andrew.
And it is ramping up. The lightning is increasing dramatically. Also, the hail potential is also quickly increasing. You can see there the hail potential just southwest of Preemption, west of Matherville, has now reached the extreme category. If you go to the hail size, we can put this into motion. Notice that potential has been increasing as well. We're likely talking about quarter-size hail, if not just a little bit larger. with this that cell there, just west of town on Matherville, near Illinois 94. So that's showing some characteristics that it's starting to organize itself. And yeah, I would not be surprised again to see something escalate with that. That's a decent signature.
And if we do see some type of, let's say maybe in this case, maybe a tornado that does pop up for the immediate Quad Cities, and iHeartRadio actually will interrupt their radio programming and actually go into our coverage as well. So that's certainly a nice resource to have, especially if you're on the road and or not near the TV like we're dealing with right now. So that's very handy to have. But no question, we are seeing a nice little hook going on just south and west of preemption. You can actually see that right there on the reflectivity mode, part of our severe thunderstorm warning that goes on until around 5:30 or so. But no question, just around 20th Street, west of 160th, definitely seeing that just north of Ridge Road there. That looks really, really impressive. And of course, just north of that on 170th, that probably is some large hail located just north of that hook that we're also seeing just west of preemption. Of course, this is an old image which is going to update here in just a little bit, but already seeing some of that dark green that is approaching, maybe even golf ball or ping pong size, just north of Ridge Road itself.
Yeah, we're up to golf ball now and still growing. I'm looking at my other radar algorithm and product that I've got off to the side here, now indicating hail could be potentially approaching 2 1/4 of an inch. That would be larger than golf ball size hail. That would, once the algorithm updates on our computer here on air, that would push us into that dark blue there. So you're talking about possibly the size of hen eggs, like we were talking about being the possibility with storms the other day here. Now, yeah, that looks like that's going to be the reality here possibly as this storm is continuing to take off.
Yeah.
The lightning count continues to increase as well. And it's not really interacting with the storm to the southwest of it that much. One of the things, of course, we want to watch is what's happening to the southeast of this storm. And you can see right now it's got a clear feed of instability that's pushing right into it. There's nothing ahead of it that's going to choke it off or cut it off. So it's got wide access to all of that.
The guys at the National Weather Service, in particular David over there at the National Weather Service, was saying that no question they do see the hail. The hail is definitely falling from this particular storm. It has a deep mezzo with it, which means there is some really good rotation taking place with this, and they are certainly watching this very carefully. I would say if you are in the path of this particular storm, I would definitely get to a safe place right now. Even though you may not be hearing the sirens, what we are noticing on the radar really is something of a concern that we are seeing here just west of preemption. So that's something we'll definitely want to make sure that you are heeding this warning that we're putting on in, because things could change, as Andrew just mentioned, can change very, very quickly. The storm itself is moving, what was it, about 55 or 60 miles an hour or so?
Yep, 55.
Andrew? So it's going to be here by looking at the clock in 10 minutes or so in the immediate Quad Cities itself, especially over at the Quad City International Airport.
Yeah, it'll come in very, very quick. And again, once the warning is issued, you only have maybe a minute or two at most that you need to start acting. So yeah, I agree with you. I think if you're in the path here, anywhere mentioned in the path tracker on the left-hand side, including if you're on the south side of the metro Quad Cities there near Interstate 280, this is one you need to be ready to move for and move quickly, especially if it continues to escalate. Again, several things we look at. Is the hail growing? Yes. Is the lightning count growing? Yes. So all of that telling us, like the National Weather Service said, we've got some good rotation going on here. It's just a matter of tightening that up and then see if it can produce something that can actually touch down and hit the ground. But yeah, right for preemption, right there. It looks like it's already past Reynolds, but this is very close to preemption. You've got Coal Valley. Its sights set in the path to hit that area there eventually. And also looks like it's going to be passed just to the south of Oak Grove and to the north of Sherrard. A lot of lightning strikes being plotted on the radar here ahead of the storm system, indicating that it's got some very, very tall cloud tops as well, so it is strengthening.
What's kind of interesting too, Andrew, is this is kind of the same playbook, I guess you can say, if that's a good way of putting it, with the tornado-warned storm off to our west. where we saw this develop right around the Ottumwa area about an hour and a half or 2 hours ago. And, you know, it showed a nice wall cloud with it. And now they're getting reports of some, like a very thin funnel cloud or even a tornado that could be eventually on the ground itself. So it's kind of the same scenario that we're dealing with that one particular storm to our south. This is that tornado warning that is out until 5:15, and it will be impacting places like around western Liberty and northwestern Muscatine County, and eventually make it its way into Cedar County towards Cedar Rapids itself. And this too has some large hail with it as well, which we're really concerned about going in the next 45 minutes or so. You can see it just outside of West Branch itself, and that dark green, what would you say about, that's about marbles, no, I would say golf ball size, I would say, when you're dealing with 1.5 inches right there.
Yeah, and that's another storm that's got wide open access to all of the warm, unstable air ahead of it. There's no storm to the south. It's mainly to the southwest. So this one as well kind of has an unlimited source of fuel to go along with it, hence the increase in hail and also a lot of lightning that's going on with that too. So that would be heading in kind of more of the northeast direction. You've got Tipton in there, and then eventually we'd have that crossing into parts of Clinton County, perhaps into parts of Jackson County eventually, but looks like more of a Clinton and northern Scott County threat. If that thing can hold together, you'd be talking about Loudoun eventually, getting into Toronto, Welton, Charlotte could eventually be in the path of that storm if it holds together and strengthens. Definitely a beefy one on the radar, the most intense one you can see.
And would you say too, Andrew, that because of, you know, we've got great amount of instability, of course, temperatures in the 70s, we got dew points in the 60s, but let's not forget, we've been seeing a good amount of convective energy that you're showing here and some pretty decent you know, speed shear that is actually taking place as well from the surface aloft. And I know you've been talking about it on your Ask Andrew segment on the News 8 Plus app. And that certainly, I think, is playing a big role as far as having these storms blossom the way they are, but more importantly, too, the way they are rotating as well.
Yeah, we have a lot of the speed shear in place today, which is that change in wind direction and the change in wind speed with height. When we were showing that earlier this morning, we had winds of about 15, 20 miles per hour at the ground. You go 5,000 feet up, those winds quickly picked up to about 60 to 80 miles an hour. And it's that quick change in wind speed in addition to the direction that is leading to all of this development that we're seeing right now. And if we had more sunshine, I think you'd be looking at much larger storms. But the fact that we limited some of the sunshine, we're kind of getting these elongated storm structures that are still potentially dangerous as they move on into the region. That's
right, because, you know, it may not spin, but if it has some good wind coming down from these storms, then you can certainly see winds maybe in excess of 60 miles an hour. Some indications are you could even get winds even stronger than that, and that could actually do some damage. So it doesn't have to spin. It can actually go ahead and be more of a straight line downdraft that could be taking place. Just a little concerned about this part of the storm that is now just north of Preemption and Sherrard, just east of Illinois 192. You can see 67 itself. That storm continues to make its way toward the north and east. This is our wind speed and direction. So this is actually determining the raindrops moving toward and away from the radar site itself. And we can actually connect that to any type of rotation that we are seeing. And we are seeing a little bit, though weak, there is some type of Metoscale vortex that is taking place within that part of the storm, AKA spin, rotation that may be going on. So that's why we're a little bit concerned about this part of the storm as it makes its way off to the north and east. No doubt if it holds its position, we're definitely talking about areas just east of the Quad International Airport, I would say. But Coyne Center, certainly, even around we mentioned about Coe Valley, and possibly making its way, if it holds together, just around East Moline, Silvis, maybe even around Kelowna, if we had to extend it even more, if it does hold together, Andrew. Yeah, that would definitely bring it right on into Coyne Center and Moline, probably skirting by Rock Island at this point, but definitely into Moline, East Moline, possibly near Silvis, and eventually into Kelowna. Again, if it can get its act together, it's been an interesting signature to look at on radar. There's definitely some
rotation there south of Coin Center now. You're strong on one side of the storm, but not particularly strong on the other side of the storm. So what we would like to see for this to tighten up anyway and to give us a better signature for something maybe brewing here is we want to see a patch of some much lighter greens, more of kind of a turquoise color to the immediate right of this. We don't see that yet, but there's been signs, and you can see a couple little signatures in here north of Sherrard where there are some winds in the opposite direction of what's going on with the red part of this storm that are trying to strengthen up a little bit. And it's been pretty sizable too. It hasn't really tightened up in terms of its size. We like to see it get a little bit smaller, but still it's indicating that there's rotation there. And the possibility of something developing further is on the table. And we can see what we call the hook echo. It is north of Preemption now, and it's getting ready to cross 67. And that would beeline it for Coin Center next, going north of Sherrard. And then as you go up the line here, that would eventually get it south of Coin Center. And then eventually you're talking about just east of the Quad Cities International Airport. So places like Silvis, Kelowna, if that could develop into something further. And there's nothing ahead of it. Again, to remind you, there's nothing that's going to cut this off, at least right now, unless we get some more interaction with the storms a little bit further to the south. But that doesn't appear to be the case. And you can tell, look at the lightning data, where you see most of it clustered is right there near Preemption.
Right.
The strongest part of the storm.
Now, we always try and look for that cluster of lightning because that's pretty much where most of the energy is confined, the most of that convective energy is confined. And also, too, you're going to find some hail, you're going to find some helicity, which is a spitting of the air from the surface aloft. We always look for the rate of that lift that's going on from the surface aloft. So a lot of key ingredients that go on in determining the characteristics of these certain storms that are now making its way across the area. But no doubt, we're getting some hail, and indications with the help of our algorithms can determine that we're potentially seeing just west of 67 some maybe golf ball size hail represented in that dark green, and that certainly is enough to cause some damage. So if you're watching us from Coin Center, boy, this is going to be a real close call. But it is making its way off to the south and east itself. So this is something that if you are in this path, I would say you definitely want to get inside, take cover, wait for the storm to go on by. Keep in mind, there is lightning coming out of this thing as well. So we could certainly be in a situation where, brief power outages can't be ruled out. We've always had these situations. Even the amount of lightning that is concentrated in the area, the square area that we're looking at, doesn't appear to be all great. But we've seen these scenarios before where it doesn't take much to actually produce these brief power outages that may be going on. Some spots located in parts of right around the border of the Merced County, Henderson County border, and then we're seeing some of that activity, maybe some hail, possibly even farther south, just north of La Harpe, as the storms south of that one activity are showing some signs of growing as well. We're going to continue to see that area of activity continue to reach to possibly severe limits with these storms that we are continuing to see, especially around southern Henderson County. Let's not forget, too, that we have that activity off to our west. We've had numerous warnings coming from these storms, several tornado warnings. We just have this one in particular, tornado warning that goes on until about 5:15. Of course, can't rule out some large hail, maybe quarter size, and very likely this storm is probably right near the Tipton area. Of course, it's a bit cloudy right now. I would say just what would you say, Andrew? Just west of Rochester? Would that be the kind of area of circulation that they're focusing on?
Yep, that's what caught my eye too. I would say right there, Rochester, unfortunately, right on Interstate 80, coming out of West Branch. Though again, we're moving this a little northeast here, so that's going to go just north of Rochester into Tipton. Also call your attention, look at the strength of the winds behind this line here, just east of Iowa City. Looks like some very strong, perhaps straight line wind signature that is coming in east of Iowa City, now west of West Branch and West Liberty. Just kind of put a quick loop on that to see. And yeah, you can see that is surging forward. I'm talking about these bright greens and this turquoise here. Notice how it's surging forward, so the damaging wind threat looks like it's going to come in immediately behind the tornado threat here in the next few minutes for those same areas.
Well, let's do this. Let's go over to the Beast, where our own Morgan Strackbine is located. They'll find out some information from her. Of course, she's been in the Beast since, I would say, past 2 hours or so over at Walcott, Iowa, hanging out at the truck stop there. Let's find out more from Morgan of her location and what she's chasing, more importantly. Morgan.
Yeah, hey guys, hopefully you can hear me just fine. I just had to turn up the mic real quick, but we have been sitting in Walcott kind of watching both I do just want to immediately show you exactly what we're seeing. So these are the storms that you guys were just talking about, the ones that are trailing towards the Tipton, Cedar County area, but we also have a really good view of the storms that are moving into the Metro Quad Cities. So these are kind of the backside of those storms. Again, lots of very high cumulus clouds, that is for sure. Very good looking picture there. I was also watching a lot of the inflow that is going into the storm too, right behind that's tracking in. But of course, right now we have just decided to leave the Walcott area. We are now heading north towards Highway 30, kind of towards the Wheatland area where those storms are continuing to push into. We've been watching this for a very long time. Again, it was kind of originating near the Ottumwa area just a couple hours ago, and I know it was just a couple hours ago, but very quickly these storms just continue to race their way through, and that's the thing with this event specifically when it comes to even trying to go out and capture anything from these storms. You really have to try to either set yourself up for success in a good position and wait out those storms, because once they do pass through, your chase is basically done for the day, and you're just kind of waiting it out and seeing at that point if there's any damage left over. But yeah, for now we are going to continue to head north. I guess I can move the camera a little farther to the west, because that's kind of, I'm looking at radar. This is kind of the general direction that looks like where that hook is on radar that we're definitely a little more concerned about.
Yeah, eventually we may try do this in the near future here, and I'll be addressing this to the producers, our great producers in the booth. If we actually can be able to show the camera like we're showing right now with the Beast, and then have another dual box if we can, another box representing the radar itself. And I think that may make it a little bit more helpful for our viewers out there and get an idea. But first things first, Morgan, great job what you're doing. Be careful out there. We know that, and Andrew, I know we've been kind of talking about it. There are so many chasers that are out and about across, definitely at least right now around eastern Iowa, and they eventually will probably migrate their way a little bit more east, especially areas near the Quad Cities and points northward.
Yes, I've seen social media on several of the local pages, people all the way from Texas are up here today.
Wow.
In Davenport, so yeah.
Even Reed Timmer is out and about too, who's the storm chaser extraordinaire, who's out and about. He's been chasing this particular cell for the past number of hours, started around Ottumwa, and he continues to make his way off to north and east. So when you have Reed Timmer in town, that's a serious situation that may be going on. But right now, this is the only tornado warning that we have, which is right now in a good chunk of Cedar County. Possibly there's even some hail the size of quarters that could be popping up. It's still holding itself together, and you can see some of that green there, and we've seen that before. Golf ball size hail likely falling between Tipton and Rochester, likely will certainly be impacting Tipton here literally in the next minute or two as that continues to race its way off to the north and east. These storms are really hauling. I mean, we're talking about these storms moving around 55, 60 miles an hour. And at the same time, these storms are blossoming pretty quickly as well as what we have been noticing with the line ahead of that on areas just around the Quad Cities and points south. We're hearing rumbles of thunder outside our station here. And right now, the biggest concern that we have from this particular storm is located just south of the immediate Quad Cities from preemption and nosing his way toward the Kelowna area. This is an area where I know the guys at the National Weather Service are keeping an eye on. They're definitely seeing some low-level rotation at this point. But given what we're noticing here, the wind speed and direction are velocity mode, we like to call it. Right now, it's just showing that low-lying rotation, really nothing more than that. Doesn't have that pure comet-shaped look but radars could be quite deceiving, and why it's really important that some of the chasers that are out there are able to see visually what's really going on. But given what we're seeing on the radar, it's still showing the winds of green moving toward the radar site, heading toward Mount Joy, and then this red is indicating those storms moving away from the radar site itself. So it's a bit kind of disfigured right now, but we're still keeping an eye on this, no question about it. And you can see even with the brightness of that red, that's an indication of some good wind, maybe coming down from the storm itself. So once again, we got a cone on this. We always like to track storms because that's what we like to do. East Moline looks like just about say less than 10 minutes or so for you, and just around Black Hawk College. And as we mentioned, Coal Valley as well will be impacting you here in at least a minute or two as the storm continues to advance its way quickly out of the northeast around 55 miles an hour. This polygon that you see here, that's that severe thunderstorm warning that goes on until about, I believe, 5:15 or 5:30?
5:15.
5:15,
yep.
Okay. I was close. And so keep in mind, we're very likely may see some additional warnings come out just north and east of that, at least when it comes to this broken line itself. And you can see the indentation right here, that little couplet that we see, like in this example, around east of Aledo itself. Doesn't look too impressive, though, when we go to the velocity mode. We kind of change it up a little bit with our color tables here. And that one that you had that was a bit more contrast, Andrew, that looked fairly impressive, but not impressive enough as far as seeing any type of turn going on. But is part of the storm east of Aledo that, once again, we'll be keeping an eye on because everything's happening so rapidly, not just with the growth of these storms, like even Morgan saw just outside of Walcott, but even these storms that we've been noticing just south and east of the Quad Cities. Getting maybe a little hail, algorithms are showing maybe mothball size that may be taking place just south of the Aledo area, maybe about marble size too as well, but just off Illinois 94 heading toward Aledo, might be seeing a little bit of hail begin to fall from that particular storm, Andrew.
Yeah, definitely. That's another one that's ramping up is that one near Aledo, and the velocity data is showing some stronger winds starting to come in with that storm, especially north of town. And that rush of wind or that stronger wall of wind eventually heading for Reynolds and then into Matherville. So that's been increasing there, been watching that. Lightning counts also going up in that particular storm. There's another report that we just got in, I would say maybe 10 minutes ago, it looks like, of near quarter-size inch hail. But I think that's displaced on the map there in terms of where they're saying. It looks like it was south of Coyne Center, perhaps just a little while ago, and that lines up actually well with the radar data. For some reason, they've labeled that was at the Quad City International Airport, and I don't believe that's true. So that would have been from Coyne Center, just had about quarter-size hail a little bit more than 10 minutes ago from that storm that we were tracking that has that broad level rotation. And that storm is still holding its own. It still had on our hail algorithms, at times exceeding 2 inches for the possible size, and it's still going. Wow.
Yeah, just getting reports, some viewers, maybe some pea or even quarter-size hail outside of Moline, just east of the Quad Cities. So what we're seeing here, Andrew, certainly on our hail size graphic here, that may be confirmed right there that we're seeing just near Coal Valley itself, heading toward Kelowna.
There it is. Yeah, you can see it crossing 150, Route 150. That's going to be crossing 6 and 280 and heading right for Kelowna. You put the loop on this thing, and it looks like it's kind of the hail core, if you will, is elongating itself a little bit, likely because of the strong wind shear that we've got going on. But still, you see that little area of green, that's indicating that you're getting larger than quarter-size hail. So I'm really going to kind of put a track on this. We'll scoot this back a little further south. Let's put the track. This is heading northeast. So we're talking about Kelowna's next. If it's not there already, actually it is there in the next few minutes. Then you go into Cleveland at about 5:13, and then we're having this go a little bit further to the northeast, and we're talking about this getting into northwest, extreme northwest Henry County, and then eventually crossing over into Whiteside County. So that's a very robust signature. In fact, it's the strongest hail signature we have on the radar right now. This storm is so close to radar that we're getting a very detailed visual of its wind pattern because, of course, the radar is out there at the airport in Mount Joy and Davenport. We're still seeing that broad level rotation that is ongoing again southwest of Kelowna. Not tightening up quite yet, but still a lot of rotation going on within that storm. And it's still trying to organize itself by all indications. If you look at the reflectivity, we still have this kidney bean shape to the storm itself. It's not really a tight kidney bean shape, but it is there. It is showing some of that rotation, that broad rotation that's going on. And a reminder, we still have nothing ahead of this storm. So as it moves to the northeast, it can still utilize some of that shear and perhaps go on to produce something if it would like to. But yeah, you can still see there's a lot of lightning ongoing there. The lightning count also ramping up with this storm that's north of Aledo. Watching for those stronger wind gusts. I'll show you those here. What we're mainly focused on with that is if you go north of Aledo. So this batch right here, that's where our radar is indicating some stronger winds.
Well, look at that. My goodness.
Wow.
That's some pretty good hail that we're seeing right there.
Yeah, and that's coming to us from a preemption just probably 5-10 minutes ago, James.
Dang.
That is some pretty large hail. So once again, very much verified what we're seeing on our parameters when it comes to the hail itself. So that is definitely enough that can do some damage. That is for sure. And once again, viewers, if you have any videos you want to send us, any pictures you want to send us, please do. We would love to see some of those pictures. I think you can go ahead into the, John, to the WQAD webpage. That you can able to send these pictures.
Absolutely. On the webpage, you can email us at news@wqad.com. Text them to us as well if that's more convenient. Or maybe the best option is download the Storm Track 8 app to your phone.
Let's go to, I want to quickly go to the radar here right near Smithshire, Andrew, because Corey Marshall looks like he's just done with work. He is doing some chasing just around Smithshire. I believe that's outside of Galesburg. That one particular storm, he's looking to the south and west, might be near Monmouth. Actually sent me a picture of a really good wall cloud that is going on just west of 67 south of Monmouth. What do you see on that there, Andrew?
Yeah, we can pull up the velocity. This one's a little bit farther away from the radar, so a little bit less defined here. But yeah, I could see the possibility that you could get some broad rotation, especially because that's another storm that is on its own. We have these three different, I think it's safe to call them supercells that are ongoing right now. You've got the one going into Kelowna, you've got the other one coming out of Aledo, and then you've got this third supercell down here north of Roseville and south of Monmouth. And that's another one that I've been noticing is ramping up again. Hail estimation in terms of the size, and yeah, it does have the broad rotation symbol on it too. Right now is quarter size. But that's another one that's got an open air mass in front of it where it could easily continue to strengthen. And if you look at the hail size, this has been increasing to the west of Roseville and north of Raritan. Also, when you go into Monmouth, this would eventually be beelining it right for Monmouth on its current track. So we can stop that and actually put the tracker on it right now for increasing hail potential. If you are in and around Monmouth, especially south along Highway 67, that is going to be aiming its way right to that direction. So there you see Kirkwood at 5:15, practically just a few minutes. Monmouth right around 5:20. And most of these storms have been intensifying up to the green color, which indicates slightly bigger than quarter-size hail, perhaps close to golf ball size hail as it continues to intensify. And then you've got Cameron at 5:24. But that's another healthy looking storm.
Yeah.
That's easily the third supercell that we're going to be tracking on the Illinois side of the river.
Of course, we have our beast out there, our storm chasing vehicle. Meteorologist Morgan Strackbein is doing that chasing. As you can see on the right-hand side, of course, we're getting help from her, indications of where she is. I want to mention to the booth again, if we can actually possibly even get a hold of Corey Marshall, who could maybe send those pictures to you guys, and possibly we can go ahead and show those off on the air as well. But a fairly impressive wall cloud that we saw, at least west of Galesburg near Smithshire, making his way off to the northeast. Of course, that might have changed just a little bit. Picture was sent about maybe 5 or 10 minutes ago or so. But you can see the darkening of those clouds. These are very likely just west of the beast itself. Of course, keeping an eye on that part of the storm that still may have some pretty good circulation with it. The warning making its way, extending its way into Clinton County now until around 5:30. So Toronto, Iowa, Wheatland certainly could be in the path of this storm. And let's not forget, even $half size hail could certainly be taking place with this part of the storm as it makes its way off toward the north and east. Great shot that we see from our beast looking off to the west. Andrew, that's a really impressive shelf cloud that I think we're seeing way out there in the distance.
It is, yeah. Notice Morgan just got out of Dixon, Iowa, and now she is just on the outskirts of Wheatland. So we're getting really close to showing you what that southeast side of that storm looks like, and that's where we would see our tornado development. You can see, yeah, we're still tracking that tornado warning until the bottom of the hour for Wheatland itself, just to the west of DeWitt. So she's in a really good position that if something were to develop, there's nothing in front of it again for storms, and she would have a good visual there. The rotation still looks kind of a little disorganized on the radar scans at this time, but still the possibility, because that storm is on its own and it's got some broad rotation, that you could still see something come out of it. But yeah, she's absolutely in a really good position to be able to see what's happening. I think you were able to see somewhat of a shelf cloud there in the distance. Also what we kind of call in the storm chasing community the beaver tail, which is the warm air flowing into the storm that is powering it. And yeah, some really impressive dark skies there too. Not seeing at least a ton of lightning yet, but again, it could be covered in rain because we're on the southeast side of the storm. A lot of that lightning is kind of a little bit further back into the storm itself. Also still capable of producing some fairly large hail. You got the hail core right now south of Loudon on its current path that would go north of Wheatland, just to the north barely, and then eventually start heading for areas south of Lost Nation and Welton. But that's a beautiful shot there.
Yeah, no question. Getting some lightning out of there, getting some pretty good rain, and looking at the velocity too, Andrew, it looks like right around Bennett, there's some pretty good wind that is definitely coming down from the storm. If it's not twisting, it's certainly producing some pretty good wind. There was a possible tornado brief touchdown just 7 miles south of Tipton. So given the path, and that was about maybe 10 minutes ago or so, but that could very likely be the location of maybe some possible turning of the wind that may be taking place. Of course, another great shot just north of the News 8 station. This is just, of course, east of the I-74 bridge itself on the Bettendorf side. And that rain is coming down pretty good just outside the Quad Cities itself, Andrew.
Yeah, you can see the strongest part of the storm is now over Kelowna, heading to the northeast, and now we're on the back side of the storm, getting into the heavy rain. Really no hail threat with that part. It's now out of Kelowna, heading to the northeast toward Interstate 88. That's where your hail core is currently located and moving to the northeast. But still have to keep a very close eye on the velocity. We're still getting a number of scans in here that are showing that broad rotation. And again, with a conductive environment in front of this thing, it doesn't take much to get a brief spin up, perhaps, and touchdown reaching the ground as this is going to the northeast. So there's no tornado warning with it, but notice the majority of our severe thunderstorm warnings, especially this one that it's under, is that canary color indicating tornado development possible. And it's not just for that storm, it's the whole darn line. All the way down through Sherrard, Aledo, and even into Monmouth, where we were just talking about Corey Marshall. Also included in that same severe thunderstorm warning that says tornado possible.
Because you can definitely see some type of little couplet just south of Monmouth itself, which looks pretty interesting to see. And of course, being so far away from the radar site itself, we're kind of getting more of the middle portion of that storm itself as far as how the winds are moving toward and away from the radar site. But as Andrew just did here, he put a nice color table in showing that distinction that's going on. Doesn't look too impressive, but there are certainly signs of that perfect. That's kind of what we're looking at, some type of low-level rotation that may be taking place. This is the same storm as Corey Marshall sent me, this picture showing that kind of a wall cloud feature just south and west of Galesburg. So he's definitely on that storm, and hopefully we'll be able to even get him on the air here and give us even more details of what he is seeing. But if it's holding its position, which is doing, you can see the concentration of the lightning kind of fixed where that rotation is. It will be impacting the Galesburg area just around the bottom of the hour, about 15 minutes or so. So if you are in the path of this particular storm, you definitely want to make your way inside, because it's not just a concern that we have with this maybe possible rotation, but there's some wind, there's some heavy rain, there's some hail, there's a whole lot of lightning coming on that certainly can produce some brief power outages. And this thing is hauling around 55, 60 miles an hour. So it won't take too long, like we said, maybe in about 15 minutes or less, that it will impact the Galesburg area.
Yeah, they are moving. So when the warning gets issued, you yourself need to move. Don't wait for a minute or two. Don't wait to go look outside and see if it's coming. You need to move, because 55, 60 miles an hour, it's not a whole lot of reaction time. There is a new severe thunderstorm warning to tell you about, and that has now been issued for areas just north of Clinton. This is going to include Thompson. You've also got Savannah in there as well, just north of Comanche. Some of the other towns, Andover, Teeds Grove. You've got Sebula in there, Savannah, and it even stretches all the way into Carroll County for Mount Carroll. That is another canary-colored severe thunderstorm warning, which means tornado development is possible. And we'll zoom in, and there you see the expiration time is 6 o'clock. That's another kind of supercell, it looks like, just to the northwest of Clinton, that has been trying to organize a little bit more. The lightning data has been increasing with it. Let's go to the hail tracker, and you can see we have a hail core that is organizing now just south of Highway 30 near Lowmore. And if you put the algorithm to work here, likely going to say just sub-severe size, probably mothball size right now is what the hail is there. So heads up if you're north of Clinton, another storm organizing and moving in that direction.
One of the things that we've been keeping an eye on is, or the concern that we were concerned about going into this weather coverage, is some of these discrete cells, okay? When they get these cells so separated, they have a chance to live a lot longer. The duration of their event could actually last a lot longer, which we have been noticing with some of these storms well ahead of all the other activity that has been going on just west. So that's why we're still concerned about these storms that continue to make their way off to the northeast, certainly have the likelihood of even recycling itself to a point where, you know, it doesn't look like much now, but it can certainly blossom again and possibly produce some type of rotation that may be going on. John, what do we have right here? It looks like a little hail going on. Not sure what the location was.
This is in Coal Valley, James. This was sent to us just a little while ago, just to kind of show you it looks like a combination of hail and rain that's falling at the same time there, but nothing too large. We have seen obviously much larger hail. We saw some sent to us from preemption. But I also want to make a quick note here as we look at this video. We are tracking power outages, and we've seen a significant number sort of west of our viewing area, sort of west of, southwest of Columbus Junction. We have about 2,000 customers in various areas, sort of in the path of the storms that have lost power, and they're still out of power. These are, Ameren customers, Alliant Energy customers who are dealing with this. So we know this is a powerful storms that are moving through. And of course, please continue to send us some of the photos and videos that you are taking. But as our meteorologists have mentioned, you don't want to necessarily put yourself in harm's way for any reason, including to take these photographs or videos. So be very careful as you are considering doing that.
Looks like we have a tornado warning out, Andrew, for Warren.
Yep.
And there it is right there. And that's something we've been keeping an eye on. Yeah.
Yeah, brand new tornado warning. That is for Warren. And also it looks like Illinois, the Lincoln office, has also extended that tornado warning into Knox. That now covers Abingdon, Galesburg, Knoxville, Watauga, Victoria. The one in Knox County goes until 6 o'clock. I'm going to scoot over to the Warren one, and that's going to go till 5:45. So this is that storm that Corey Marshall was telling us about and seeing some of those visuals. And it appears that, yeah, that has caught the attention of both National Weather Service offices, and that tornado warning has been issued. And we still have some really sizable broad rotation, but you can see even within that, I would say especially in this particular area right here, perhaps where you have some organization trying to get going a little bit better, where you've got this more indentation to the velocity signature there just east of Monmouth.
Yeah, what I'm going to try and do on my side here, I'm going to see if I can try and get a hold of Corey Marshall and find out if I can get some of the chasing, and maybe go ahead and try and put my my phone next to my microphone to get an idea. Corey, are you there?
I am.
Corey, James Zahara here from WQAD. Of course, we're keeping an eye on that storm that you've been chasing. Can you give us some details on that?
Yeah, this wall cloud is actually expanding. Just a minute ago, they issued a tornado warning for Warren and Knox County.
Oh, there we go.
Yep, and we're seeing that on the wind velocity here. Looks really impressive just east of Kirkwood, right near Monmouth itself. And it looks like continues that east-northeast course.
Yes, it is. And yeah, like I said, it's expanding and it's getting pretty big.
Do you see any type of touchdown or anything like that with this? I mean, this is a storm that has been indicated to have some rotation with it. Just want to know what you see with your own eyes.
I have not seen any type of funnel or, any kind of tornado coming down. All I see right now is just a big wall cloud. There is an area of interest right next to it on the right that's actually coming right over the Galesburg airport that I've been watching.
All right, very good. Well, Corey, be careful out there. Of course, send us those pictures. We're going to get someone in the booth to actually kind of grab those pictures of you and of that wall cloud that you're seeing. And more importantly, we're going to make sure that we get the warnings out, certainly for our friends out in Galesburg and even around Henderson, as well as parts of Knox County as well. So, Corey, take care. We'll get back with you very soon.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
Okay, that was Corey Marshall, veteran storm chaser. I've known Corey for, oh my goodness, since he was a little kid. Let's put it that way. And he's certainly one of those chasers that is very careful, who knows what to see, and more importantly, keeping himself safe in a situation where he's not going to be in the heart of these tornado-producing thunderstorms. But no question, Andrew, very impressive what we're seeing on the wind velocity, as well as the other levels of the color tables that you're showing, not just from the Mount Joy Airport, but I believe that was out of Lincoln as well, that you were kind of showing a little bit of that wind velocity?
Yeah, and I'm trying to see if I can just get the Lincoln radar on here, because that's got a much, much better view of what's going on with that storm, as it's kind of more to the southeast of it, but the computer just not wanting to cooperate and listen to me right now. So we're just going to put I guess the oh, there we go.
There we
Maybe
go.
now it's going to view. Okay, that is a much cleaner view.
Exactly.
Of what we were trying to show you there, and you can see where that rotation is. Let's zoom in a little bit closer here so you can get some street names.
And as Andrew keeps doing that, once again, if you're watching us from Galesburg, the sirens are going off. Take cover now. Get to your safe place. Put as many walls between you and the storm outside. Now, this is a very fast-moving storm. It's going to be here in Galesburg in literally just a couple of minutes or so. And it continues to swiftly make its way off to the northeast. It has a bullseye for Galesburg, okay? And that continues to make its way off to the north and east. Keep in mind, this has some hail with it. This has some wind with it. Vivid lightning also with this storm as it continues to make its way off to the northeast. So Galesburg, take cover now. You are under this warning. There is circulation going on. There hasn't been any official touchdown yet, as indicated by Corey Marshall himself, but it can happen certainly any moment. So do make sure that you head to your safe place.
Yeah, it's an impressive display on radar, no doubt, and it's actually got a couple of areas of rotation that may be mixed in there together. But yeah, I agree with you. It's got a full bullseye on to Galesburg, locked on to Galesburg right now. Those of you in Knoxville, I think, are just going to be spared that rotation. It may go just to your north there, but certainly if you're in Galesburg, I would even say in Henderson at this point, and then eventually making its way into Victoria. Yeah, you need to be making some movements right now to make sure that you are safe, make sure your pets are safe. We'll put the tracker on this. There you see the times of arrival, just moments for Galesburg. Perhaps some of the stronger rotation going just to the north of Knoxville. That would be at 5:36. You've got Watauga, 5:39, Oneida, 5:44, and then Williamsfield, excuse me, at 5:52. And this is another storm. Like I've been saying all evening long, there's nothing ahead of it. It's not interacting with any other storm at this time. It's on its own, meaning it's got open access to all of that unstable air that's ahead of it, and it can definitely produce something here as it continues to grow. Still a hail concern, though our algorithm, again, is a couple of scans behind, but safe to say this is now out of the south of Monmouth region and likely heading into the southwest portion of Galesburg proper, where we could potentially see some nickel-size hail, hail up to the size of nickels there. Some of the other algorithms that we're watching the storm with also indicating hail size right about that size itself, nickel size, so just less than quarter size. Impressive storm.
Yeah, once again, let's go with that reflectivity. There it is, what Andrew just showed us right there. There's a storm that has some rotation with it, possibility of maybe a tornado that could drop down from this storm just south and west of Galesburg, continues to swiftly make his way off to the north and east. So we'll certainly be monitoring this. We're still seeing some developing rotation in southwestern Whiteside County,
yes,
right around Interstate I-88. Let's try and see if we can go up there, Andrew. And you can see the lightning. Once again, the concentration of lightning is usually a good signal as to where the potential rotation may be taking place. And it could be just north of Illinois 92, would you say, Andrew?
Yep, that's exactly where I'm focusing my attention. Just north of Joslyn, actually between Hillsdale and Joslyn, is where this storm is now starting to organize. And on its current path, that would actually give us a really good view on our Prophetstown camera, probably in the next 10 minutes or so, that we'll be able to get a visual of that with a live feed there. Hail size has been approaching 2 inches, which is hen egg size hail. No doubt it's probably producing at least some quarter size hail at this point. And yeah,
oh, wow,
look at that golf ball size now.
Wow.
Being reported. And that would be just northeast of Cleveland. You've got Hillsdale, there's Joslyn. So yeah, crossing right over Illinois 92 as we speak, right along Interstate 88. So it's hugging the I-88 corridor south of Hillsdale with golf ball size hail heading to the northeast.
And likely that, this is kind of an old frame too, at least that last image. So we're kind of maybe behind 1 or 2 images here, but no question it's moving its way off to the northeast. So trying to catch up here because of how fast this storm is moving. And that's a good indication right there, Andrew, right there where really I think the hail is now falling, just outside of the town of Erie, just kind of parallel with Interstate 80 itself.
Yep,
88.
I think that's spot on right there. Old Illinois Route 2, you've got that there going into Erie, south of the I-88 corridor. So it looks like Linden is the next stop, and this is just going to brush the northern part of Prophetstown. And then eventually, we're talking, if this holds together, Sterling Rock Falls being the third stop after that with that large hail potential. It's got a great signature on radar, though, in terms of the kidney bean shape, especially
yes,
here to the southwest of Hillsdale, just to the south. In fact, there's a new scan that just came in, and we still have that rotation signature. Let's look at the velocity because we also got an update with that.
And while you're doing that, Andrew, I would believe that the camera that we see right of the radar, you see, that is Prophetstown, I believe.
Yep. And we can kind of pan around here and kind of hard to see, of course, because the storm is still a little far away. But yeah, we're getting some darker skies. There's the flash of lightning that we just saw a second ago.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit closer. And yeah, some kind of maybe a shelf cloud there in the distance trying to come in, looks like.
Yeah.
But that view should improve here as that storm gets a little bit closer. We should be getting some dramatic views from that camera here shortly.
Yeah. Let's make sure that our friends in the booth right now, our producers who are doing a fantastic job keeping us updated with the cameras that we have, with information coming from viewers, pictures, videos. Appreciate you guys. Keep us updated. We'll focus keep that focused around Prophetstown when it comes to that camera and see if there's any type of visual that we could be seeing. But they're definitely seeing some type of developing rotation going on with this particular cell just east of Hisdale as that makes his way pretty much off to the north and east. Really impressed, Andrew, too, with the size of the hail that we've seen before. And we've seen this before, what, about 2.5 weeks ago or so, where we're getting this incredible lift of air that's allowing these hailstones to make its trip up and down these blossoming thunderstorms that have been going on.
Yeah, we've had some large reports of hail up to the golf ball size, if not slightly larger. It's early in the season, so there's still a lot of cold air in the atmosphere that hasn't scooted out quite yet. We're not in that deep summer mode when it comes to the atmosphere. We still have a lot of cold air that these things can work with, and you're still going to get some impressive hail. And no doubt, as we saw that one picture earlier, looks like a little bit bigger than golf ball size hail falling with some of these storms. That'll pack a punch.
Yeah, no question.
There it is.
And here's a great example. John, could you give us details again on this?
Yeah, this one came to us probably 30 minutes ago, maybe 45 minutes ago from preemption. Just a lot. We're getting a lot of pictures of. Of hail. Sorry about that. My mic was muted for a moment there. But this came to us from preemption. Getting a lot of photos. This is probably the photo of the largest hail that we've gotten. A lot more have been just slightly smaller. If I can just quickly show you one more picture here while we still have this up. It's okay that you can see my computer here. But this is another example that came to us a little bit more recently. You can see that smaller size there.
And the location of this one, it was kind of in the same area, or?
This one came from Milan.
Oh, from Island. Okay, yeah. Got it. Yeah, and that's where most of these storms are producing. Is these are not just hail producers, but possibly potentially tornado producing thunderstorms as well. As we've been noticing with some of these warnings that have been going on, especially down just north of the Quad Cities, where of course National Weather Service seeing still some of that rotation just west of Charlotte. They extended that warning just across the river in places around Savannah and even around Thompson. Kind of looks impressive with that little cell located just around Thompson there. Andrew, do you see that?
That just caught my eye. Yeah, the kidney bean shape with that cell that is to the east of the one tornado producing one that we've been tracking for more than an hour now. That's getting into, like you said, west of Charlotte. Yeah, let's go a little bit closer into this one here near Thompson quickly, because this could be another quick escalating. And it is indeed, this area is under a tornado warning, whether or not it's for that storm. You can probably guess on that, but, convenient nonetheless if this develops into something that you're already under a warning. Velocity data, there is some broad level rotation there, so that's something to keep an eye on. It's also developed a hail core as well, one of the other symbols and signs that we look for in more rapid development. So that's another storm I think we're going to have to keep an eye on. And wouldn't you know, it's crossing the Mississippi River. So that'll be heading over to the Illinois side here shortly, right for Thompson.
Yeah, and it seems like, of course, they've stretched that severe thunderstorm warning even more to the north and east throughout a good chunk of Carroll County, which does include, I believe, Mount Carroll and even around Lanark up there, too.
Yep, we can zoom in a little close to that and see what the time is on that. I got to scoot it away from the tornado one because that's the highest priority the computer wants to grab. So we got to get it away from that for a second. 6 o'clock is what that severe thunderstorm warning will go for. And yeah, you got Shannon in there, you've got Mount Carroll, a lot of other hometowns too, right in the northern part of the county. And that is also canary colored, which means tornado development possible. That one was probably for hail. And yeah, you can see there's a hail core north of Chadwick, also well north of Milledgeville, but another little hail core with the newest scan here now shoving that closer to Lanark. And then it looks like the Thompson one is growing, actually getting a little more extreme there on the color table.
And very much separated, once again, from all the other storms surrounding it as well. So this is one of, once again, to be concerned about for any type of rotation that may be going on. As you can see, Andrew went ahead and put a tracker on that. So Thompson, no question, it's impacting you right now. And in about less than 15 minutes, if it holds together, Mount Carroll, I would say, if you are hearing any sirens, you should get to your shelter. Given what we're seeing here, these storms have not been like growing quickly and then dissolving quickly. They're still holding its own. And when they're so discrete like this, that's a concern. that they are going to track just a little bit longer, and that's why we're concerned about some of these towns. Argo, Fay, Chadwick as well. You got to be careful with the storm as it makes its way off to the north and east. We want to make sure that we're all trying to cover all the warnings that we can. Of course, if we go a little bit more to the west, we still have this other particular tornado warning out that covers a good chunk of Clinton County and even around Jones and Jackson County. So Preston, Charlotte, you're seeing those dark skies off to your west. A lot of lightning, some heavy rain, maybe some hail. But the big concern that we have here, possibility of even some rotation that may be going on around the Charlotte area. I believe that friends of the National Weather Service are still keeping a really close eye on this, still maintaining a hail core with it, with this particular cell, but also noticing and keeping an eye on that small rotation, seeing some rotation that may be going on just outside of Charlotte. So that is true. I mean, this could be a situation where even the storm itself may be trying to do even a little recycling itself. Preston, Miles, Sebula, okay, near the top of the hour, and that storm will be impacting you, even though if it may not be some type of rotation that may be taking place, it's starting to show some type of bending, which could be an indication of some pretty intense winds that may be going on. If I heard from Vanessa, well, we are able to go to Morgan, if we can. Hi, Morgan. Oh, my goodness. Tell us where you are, and looks like some pretty good rain I can see from your window.
Yes, I just really would, because you guys are talking about the storm that just passed over us. Unfortunately, everything happens so incredibly fast. The storm that you guys are talking about that is going into Charlotte, that is tornado warned, that was the storm that just passed over us. Visibility dropped maybe a couple inches. Like, we could not see anything. There was debris kicking up. There was dust everywhere, heavy rain, lots of wind. I wouldn't be surprised if that was easily 60, maybe getting up to 70-mile-per-hour winds. So now we are on Highway 30, and we just passed through Calamus. We are getting towards Grand Mound. So you can kind of see, you know, of course, we've got the clear skies ahead of us. We're now behind that leading edge of the storm, but obviously out to our north, if we're turning the camera, that's exactly where that tornado warned storm is heading to. But yeah, regardless if you are within that line of the storm, I just want to warn people, again, the Charlotte area or anywhere that's really along this line, you're going to get some really heavy winds for at least 30 seconds as this leading edge is passing through you.
Where you're currently now, you're making your way west, north, I can't really tell.
We're making our way to the east. We are on Highway 30, just past through Calamus, Iowa. We are heading towards Grand Mound.
All right, very good. Blinding rain from this storm, strong winds from this particular storm, and once again, fantastic job Morgan is doing, because once again, there's only so much, folks, that we can see on the radar. Even we got the wiper working. I love that. Only so much that we can see on the radar. So having those eyes out there really makes a big difference. Of course, we're keeping an eye on that possible rotation going on just west of Charlotte. As Morgan just mentioned, you can see the indication there with the wind velocity going toward and away from the radar site, and that's something no doubt we'll be definitely keeping an eye on. Of course, I've been keeping an eye on, too, on some of the chasers out and about, and now just by looking at Reed Timmer, who's at the veteran chaser extraordinaire, I always like to call him, he's now being impacted by that same blinding rain and low visibility that is going on just west of Charlotte. Really impressive that is going on there. Andrew, what's the camera that we're noticing here, or can we get some help in the booth on that? What was it? That was around Clinton, and actually seeing a little bit of sun right now, but farther west of Clinton is likely that storm that is slowly approaching the Clinton area itself, I believe, or maybe just north and west of it.
Yeah, that was the one up near Thompson that still has an impressive radar signature, but we're keeping an eye on the velocity to see if there's any rotation in there. Still very broad rotation. The most impressive rotation on the radar right now continues to be that storm that's just northwest of Charlotte. In fact, it's been tightening up. National Weather Service just commenting on that a few moments ago. You're also still seeing some broad rotation with that severe thunderstorm warning that extends into Whiteside County. You can see some of that there just west of town in Prophetstown at this time. And I can actually pull up that camera and see in that direction. I've got it pivoted there to see if we can see anything. Certainly, I'm sure the skies are getting darker, but yeah, you can start to see now. We're seeing some of the shelf cloud come in. Not necessarily seeing a wall cloud with that storm because it's not indicating some tight rotation, but a little bit of broad rotation I think worth watching. And the hail threat is still there too. Our algorithms indicating at least quarter-sized hail possible with that storm. That'll be heading right for Prophetstown there.
Let's make sure we're not forgetting our friends down in Galesburg in Knox County. Of course, tornado warning continues for a good chunk of Knox County going in the next 20 minutes or so. We're going to go and make our way down there. Once again, that's until 6 o'clock at the top of the hour. And this has had some rotation with it. Of course, Corey Marshall, veteran storm chaser, been known for so long, and he knows exactly where to go when these situations take place. He's been keeping an eye on this wall cloud that has made his way outside of town of Galesburg and continues to make his way off to the north and east. Andrew is going to put that cone in there, showing that who's going to be impacted. And no question around Altona and Victoria, you're definitely in the path of this possible rotating thunderstorm that could have a tornado with it. So do make sure that you are taking cover right now as that makes its way off to the north and east. John, what do we have right here?
I think you were talking about Galesburg just a little bit ago here, and this is from Galesburg area. Emily Young sent us this video as they were driving, and as you can imagine, it might be a little bit scary to kind of see this big, huge cloud with, I don't know what you call these little sort of extensions that seem almost to be coming off the edge of that cloud a little bit. And I think you see them a little bit there at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That could be just, it could be nerve-wracking even if it's not something particularly dangerous. But she did tell us that after she took this video, they took shelter. She was in the car with somebody. They took shelter. So that's obviously a good idea there.
And no question, I think, and Andrew, would you agree with me? There's something trying to form right there.
Yeah, you can see a good visual of the wall cloud there. And that matches up with a lot of what we were seeing on the radar, some of that broader rotation trying to tighten up at times in a couple of different places. And it looks like they may have indeed just kind of caught something there trying to form.
So if you're watching us in Victoria and Altona, heading into northeastern Rover country there, make sure that you are in your safe place because just by that video alone, there's something that is definitely rotating and could potentially make its way down to the ground itself. As you can see, Andrew is showing that where that rotation is. It's not too far away from Victoria itself. Hopefully it just stays west of town as that makes its way off to the north and east. But there's Victoria right there in relationship to the rotation that is taking place. And once again, we're just a couple of minutes away from Victoria as the storm continues to make its way off to the northeast. I believe last check it was moving around 45 miles an hour or so. And like I said, continues that same path off to the north and east. Extending even more, I think Galva, you may be looking okay, but we'll see what goes on with that storm as it gets to make its way towards Stark County around Toulon itself, going into the next, I would say, half an hour or so.
Yeah, and the radar indicating the tornado algorithm that the radar uses has got that hot spot right where we've circled there for you. And that matches up really well with the velocity data too. And this is impressive even coming from our radar because we're having to shoot through these other storms to get to see the view of this one. So this is not even coming from the Lincoln radar. This is coming from ours, and we're seeing that pronounced, that defined of rotation. So kind of curious, maybe if we pivot back down here to the Lincoln radar, yeah, you can see it matches up quite well with what even the Lincoln National Weather Service radar is seeing. So that's impressive. I think that's probably the strongest signature you've got going right now outside of the one that's in Charlotte, now leaving that region.
Yeah, that's really impressive there, Andrew. That's something we'll keep an eye on. Of course, we're continuing to monitor the skies as well, especially near Charlotte itself, east of 61, right near DeWitt. This is a big concern that we see here because there is a report, radar confirmed, of some possible debris signature just northwest of Charlotte itself in Clinton County, heading toward the town of Preston, Iowa. That's, of course, in Jackson County. I believe this is the storm This is obviously coming from the beast itself, and that's the storm that Morgan has been chasing for the past hour and a half or so. And what an impressive storm that we see here. And of course, Andrew, let's explain to everyone about the coalition coefficient here, or what we call the debris tracker.
Yeah, that's what you're seeing on the left-hand side of your screen in the box there. And what I'm going to do is peel away the warning. What we're looking for are lighter colors of green and yellow. So that is the radar saying, wait a minute, I'm not scanning raindrops, I'm not scanning dust or dirt or hail. This is something foreign. This is not something weather related. And that's the debris field, or the debris signature that James was talking about being north of Charlotte. In fact, you can see it's just now on the south side of Preston. That's our indication that something is being picked up and lofted into this storm. That, again, is not rain, not hail, but possibly debris. And that's another signature you look for when it comes to confirming a tornado. And it looks like that signature has developed in the last few scans here, and it's still holding its own, heading right for Preston.
Yeah, and not only Preston, but possibly even around Savannah is going to come pretty darn close to Savannah itself. I mean, we can, you can definitely see just outside of Preston where that signature is located. And if we go ahead and put a cone on that, we love the track here, folks. You can see if it holds together in 15 minutes, may be impacting Savannah. Sebula going to be around that same time at the top of the hour. And Miles, we're talking about in less than, maybe even 5 minutes, because this storm is pushing off to the northeast at around 45 to around 50 miles an hour. So do take cover now. Looks like the National Weather Service, Andrew, is seeing something just south and west of the Quad Cities, and they're going to likely put a new warning out here, coming out more in the form of wind than anything through eastern Scott County or so.
Yeah, it looks like you got a little forward surging of the line that is now starting to come in, and there's our Bridgepoint camera. Also seeing the view of some of those darker skies to the west, the Iowa side there.
Wow.
And yeah, I could see the need for a warning there. You got a very strong signature for some wind that's getting ready to move into northern Scott County. Just came out of Walnut, actually. Or excuse me, Walcott.
Yeah.
On the Iowa side.
Yeah.
Not Walnut, Walcott. Yeah, that's a good rush of wind right along I-80. You can see those really bright turquoise colors.
Yes.
They're getting a little duller because we're getting close to the radar.
Let's show everyone. Why don't you put that circle in there, what we're talking about. Just north and east of Bluegrass, south and east of Walcott. It's right there is where we're seeing some good contrast in the raindrops moving toward and away from the radar site. Like I said, really close to the radar site. So fortunately, we're able to kind of get that signature on there and to let people know that National Weather Service is going to go ahead and issue this severe thunderstorm warning out. And they just did until 6:30. 6:30, that is radar indicated, but certainly clearer to see that we're noticing some type of rotation. It's moving a bit more east and north, about 45 miles an hour. So once again, severe thunderstorm warning out for parts of Rock Island, western Whiteside, northwestern Henry County in Illinois, Scott County, and even around southeastern Clinton County. So that's the line of storms that continues to make its way off to the east, rushing at about 45 miles an hour or so. So it will be impacting parts of the immediate Quad Cities, definitely at the top of the hour, and even going as far east as around Silvis, looks like sometime 10 minutes after 6 o'clock or so, Andrew.
Yeah, that's an impressive line of wind. But it should also be a relief to know, once that line passes through, the one that's just to the west of the Quad Cities, that's the end of our storm threat. There's nothing else that's developing to the west of that. Nothing else will develop to the west of it. That's the actual cold front that is now catching up and starting to move in. So once we get that front through the Quad Cities, the severe weather threat on the Iowa side comes to a very, very quick conclusion, but we continue to track the severe threat on the Illinois side, where we still have multiple warnings in place, including that tornado warning that goes for parts of northern Clinton County, and also you have parts of southern Jackson County extending into Carroll County, the western half anyway, from Thompson to Savannah. Still some impressive radar signatures coming out of that storm, though it looks like it's becoming a little more loosely organized with the latest radar scans there. You've got some more impressive wind signatures, especially near Prophetstown there in Whiteside County, where you still have this broad area of rotation with that storm as it's moving through. Not to mention the hail threat looks like it's organizing again south of town. Put the hail size tracker back on. You can see a couple different cores there, but I think this is a better display. There we go. You can see the hail threat increasing south of Erie. All of that heading for Prophetstown. And then you've got this other hail core here to the north of it, heading for areas likely north of Sterling. So probably Kalita into northern Whiteside County. You've got that hail potential reaching up there as well. So another robust storm with a severe thunderstorm warning attached to it. Further to the south, Geneseo, nothing severe for you at least right now. Perhaps a good rush of wind, a lot of lightning ongoing there. As we go further to the south, that tornado warning continues for a lot of Knox County. Galesburg, you're pretty much in the clear right now from any tornado threat. Now that's going to be moving a little bit farther east into Stark County, where you have a new tornado warning for Toulon into Bradford. And on its current track, we could be eventually talking about this getting into southern Bureau County and also into Putnam County in the next 45 minutes or so, if that storm can remain organized and move to the east. But at least there's a little bit of good news in that this last line here west of the Quad Cities, that's your end, if you will. Once that line pushes through, the severe weather and storm threat will shut down for today.
And that will be certainly a nice sight to see going into the evening hours. Once again, we want to go ahead and monitor these warnings all that we can, especially this tornado warning for parts of Clinton, even around Jackson, going into Carroll County itself. This one has a tornado that is on the ground and continues to make its way off to the north and east. We've been seeing it on our debris tracker as well, that there is some type of debris that has been taking place outside of Charlotte, but has made its way just west of 67 as it heads toward the Savannah area as well as around Preston. And we can actually see that indentation going on. I don't know, what do you think, Andrew? If we went just south and east of Miles, right there, you can see it just right there on the Jackson-Clinton County border. Can you see that?
Are you seeing it just north of Preston? Is that the
Just
kind of
south
area?
and I'm seeing something just south and east of, and that could still be it. I'm very curious of what we're seeing just west of 67 there.
Oh, I see what you
You know
mean.
what I'm talking about? I'm not sure if that's now the focus of attention or, what we're seeing maybe even in the velocity mode itself.
That
Kind of a little confusing right now because as you went back to that, go back to the wind velocity again. And it seems like, there could be something right northeast of Preston. So that kind of helps out a little bit. It's so challenging because we're seeing the images change so quickly because of the storm's movements moving so quickly as well. So definitely it looks like around northeast of Preston, certainly something is on the ground. Now let's go to that correlation coefficient or the debris tracker. And there we go. Okay, so that does make a lot of sense what we're seeing, especially when you change the color table there. That makes a whole lot of sense. Just looks like west of 50th Avenue there, north of Preston.
Yeah, it's an impressive signature. It's big, it's wide, it's elongated. So that tells us there is something going on with that storm. It's picked up something anomalous other than rain and hail. And, getting your bearings, there's 52. And if we zoom this out a little bit further, who are we talking next in line? Yeah, you're talking, like you said, that corner of Carroll County. You've got Jackson County and Clinton County all in that corner heading right for that region.
We may want to let Morgan know what has just taken place in Preston. Damage to building, trees, and wires in Preston. That just came out about 2 minutes ago. So we may have to let maybe Morgan know. I'm not sure if she continues to keep an eye on that storm or what, but just a thought, as we're looking at the beast right now, making its way within that storm itself, but there definitely is some damage that has been reported around the Preston area due to what we're seeing on the radar itself.
And it looks like Morgan's current location is near Long Grove and Parkview. That would be north of Eldridge. So she's driving through that part of the storm right now, likely heading for possibly Grand Mound in DeWitt, kind of areas north, trying to catch up with this thing. I tell you what, storm chasing today, boy, you really got to have a good road network and not a whole lot of traffic because these things are moving very fast, 60 plus miles an hour at times. And that makes it difficult to not only catch the storm and see things, but it also makes it difficult too when you're putting out all these warnings to make sure that you're getting enough lead time. And that's why you've seen these polygons be so large today because of these storm motions. So that's a big heads up, especially if you're in that corner north of Savannah. That would be the area where we've seen some indications that something is going on in terms of the rotation and maybe possibly something on the ground. And that confirms it. If you're saying there's damage in Preston, that debris signature went right over Preston, I believe, if we back this up. A couple of scans.
Let's do that, yeah.
That's kind of where it started.
Yep.
Was in Preston, and then it's grown as the debris has been shoved further to the northeast, so that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely does. John, what do we got here?
Yeah, you guys were just talking about DeWitt. These are photos from DeWitt of some of that those storm clouds moving into the area. We've also been monitoring a lot of the cameras. Yeah, this is another one from DeWitt. A lot of the cameras, the DOT cameras in that area, and you can really see how it's beginning to really shift. It was sunny probably 10 minutes ago, and now it's beginning to rain in parts of that area. So you can definitely see that on the cameras. We'll keep watching that to see what we can see there.
You know, one more thing, Andrew, or Shelby in this case, do we have, can we get an update on those power outages that took place just off to our south and west?
Yeah, we are seeing the power outages number climb up slowly. We're seeing the most right now is in southeastern Iowa. That would be about 2,000 people that are without power right now. Just south of Columbus Junction, you're seeing north of Mount Pleasant, but near Wayland and Richland, you're seeing about 2,000 people. Up north, Clinton County, we are just getting these numbers in from the Eastern Iowa Co-op. You got about 300 people, a little more than 300 people south of Maquoketa, but north of DeWitt that are without power right now. And then even Mid-American here closer to the metro, that number is creeping up. We're seeing the most people without power near the Hillsdale region, also over by Woodcrest.
All right, thanks a lot, Shelby, on that, because it's been a while since we talked about the power outages there, and certainly we may be seeing a few more, especially more north of the Quad Cities, where we're still dealing with these strong, possibly tornado-producing thunderstorms that may be going on just north of the Quad Cities. And if it's not spinning, we're certainly getting some pretty strong winds as well. This is now located just south and east of the Quad Cities, making our way through Stark County. This is around southeastern Henry County. And this is not a new tornado warning, I believe. But
Existing, yep.
It is a new tornado warning?
This is the existing one.
Existing one.
Yep.
And right around Lafayette, right around there is where we're seeing some possible rotation that is going on with this storm as it makes its way off to the north and east. So it's making its way through Stark County, and given the movement of this, it's likely going to impact parts of southern Bureau County as well. And we can stretch this out pretty far out here from going to Wyoming, but Neponset, that's in Bureau County. Broadmoor itself, that will be taking place around 15, 20 minutes after the hour itself, and continues to make its way off to the northeast around 45 miles an hour or so. So same storm still holding itself together as it makes its way through Knox County, but also eventually making its way through Stark and southern portions at least of Bureau County as it continues to make its way off to the north and east. As Andrew has just mentioned, and of course, which I want to widen the picture out a little bit here, we're still monitoring, tracking these two waves that are crossing the viewing area as we speak, where we've been seeing numerous polygons going on here in the form of tornado and some thunderstorm warnings. And that canary color that you see here, see how thick these warnings are compared to the one that we're noticing in Carroll County? That's an indication that these severe thunderstorm warnings can still possibly produce a tornado. At least conditions are certainly favorable for tornadoes to pop up within these cluster of storms as they make the way off to the north and east. And keep in mind, because of the fact these storms are moving so quickly, it's a very short window when it comes to these warnings. So eventually, as we get toward about maybe 8 o'clock or so, is likely when the threat's going to be all said and done. But certainly we're definitely dealing with a lot of good shear going on, good convection that is still taking place across the area, and why we're seeing numerous warnings pop up within these two waves of storms that are going on. This is from our Bridgepoint camera, and boy, that looks really, really impressive there, Andrew. Looking off toward the west of the I-74 bridge itself. Of course, there is downtown Moline, and even farther west as you go. So rather impressive, darkening skies, definitely some very heavy rain, and likely what we're seeing from this, and looks like more of a nice little shelf cloud trying to develop here. These storms continue to make the way off toward the north and east, Andrew.
Yeah, that is a beautiful shelf cloud that's coming in on our Bridgepoint camera. That's the leading edge of that round of those stronger wind gusts that are starting to now move past the airport and now move into the metro. Those could easily get up to 50, and the strongest part of those winds could approach 60 to 70 miles an hour. I haven't seen too many reports come in behind this line in terms of wind speeds. We saw quite a few earlier west of that, near Tipton and also near West Liberty and Wilton, but in the near term haven't seen anything other than a wind gust of about 50 knots here in the Quad Cities, which would be close to 60 miles an hour. Hence why that severe thunderstorm warning is still in place. We'll show you the line here on the radar, and that is a really impressive shot too of the shelf cloud. Well, let's get another view of that when the rain actually starts pelting us here shortly. But yeah, there's the shot of the line that's coming through the metro. That's the one that's got some of those strong winds attached to it. Back to the velocity data to see where we can find the strongest winds. Yeah, right on the leading edge there, where you go to those really hot looking red colors, kind of the magma color, if you will. That's where you're seeing the leading edge of those strongest winds getting ready to push right into the metro Quad Cities. There's the I-74 bridge. So it looks like we're just a few minutes away from that shelf cloud passing right over the I-74 bridge. That'll kick up the winds, could even kick up a little bit of dust too, depending on what the ground's been doing now that we've dried out a little bit since this morning. So
new image coming on through here. Yeah, I just took a look outside our station here in Moline, and those are some darkening skies off to our west and a very well-indicated shelf cloud coming in just to our west as well. So there is some good wind that eventually we're going to feel here in just a minute or two here at our station here in Moline, and likely going to be seeing that same effect if you're watching us in Coal Valley and Hampton and Cordova. That storm continues to quickly make his way off toward the east itself. So once again, want to stress that once this second line of storms makes its way through our viewing area, then no question the threat is all said and done. But this is really impressive. The Bridgepoint camera is located just, I would say, a half a mile away from our station itself, right on the just outside of the Interstate 74 bridge itself. We're able to, from here, able to maneuver the camera left, right, up and down, you name it, and no question, that looks really impressive. And behind that shelf cloud, that is where we're getting some good downpour of rain, but also, too, likely getting a good rush of wind just ahead of that rain shaft that we see right there. And that, like I said, continues to make its way pretty much from east to west. So, yeah, and some much needed rainfall. We can't stress enough how, the more rain that we get, the better for these farmers, because no question, Andrew, we have been under this moderate drought for a pretty long time. So getting this water in the ground, just about time to get those fields seeded and such. You couldn't ask for a better time to get some nice rainfall. Yeah, this has been such a welcome pattern change. Of course, we don't want the severe weather, but we do want the moisture that's coming through. So that is certainly some good news. There you see, again, the shelf cloud. We'll continue tracking that in. Should blow by that camera in a matter of just a few minutes with a good rush of wind coming down from that storm. There's also some really good wind coming down with the storm that is also in the Linden Prophetstown area. I want to take you there to the radar signature and show you what that storm is doing. There's actually kind of two parts to it. You've got a lot of lightning, some hail potential now working its way across Interstate 88 just west of Sterling Rock Falls. We'll put that on there. There you see a couple of clusters there, but the wind gusts are starting to pick up. You're seeing some of those bright yellows and also the bright yellows here, so indicating some really strong wind gusts that are starting to move through that region as well. I'm kind of trying to keep an eye on the camera, except I think with the oh, no, it is back. I thought we lost connection for a minute there. It is just covered with sheets of rain. Are you talking about this downtown Sterling? This is the Rock Falls, I mean? The Prophetstown camera. I'll see if it'll load up here. There it is. Yeah, you can see just the sheets of rain
just pouring down. And yeah, the rain is sideways with those strong winds that are coming in.
Yeah, that looks really impressive. I mean, we got multiple cameras that are out and about when it comes to our viewing area, and one particular certainly is around Prophetstown. We also have one over in Rock Falls itself. I'll be very curious what we're seeing there. May not have hit the heavy rain as of yet, but certainly is going to be coming in pretty close. I believe this is out of Dixon.
Yeah, so this would be the one at Rock Falls that has a clear view in that southwest direction. So yeah, this would be looking southwest toward Rock Falls.
And I believe even Dixon, Illinois, under the same severe thunderstorm warning as much of Whiteside County is too.
That's right, yeah, same system moving up in that same direction with that hail and wind threat. Definitely some dark skies there as that storm is moving in.
You've already let your family know up in Sterling Rock Falls?
Yeah, but I told him, I said, if anything nasty comes your way, you'll get a text message, keeping up with Marcus's parents as well. Just, keep making sure everybody is safe and knowing what's going on.
That's right. Oh, you're just a good kid. Oh, I tell you. They're just got a great son, that's for sure. Well, once again, numerous polygons that we see here. Some that show a little bit more thicker, or that canary color, indicating that these storms can still produce a brief rotation, maybe some little couplets ahead of these storms itself, outside of Thompson, maybe right around Savannah itself, and then stretching northward into Joe Daviess County. Keeping an eye on that weak rotation that's still going on right around the Savannah area as that storm continues to make its way across the river. Good concentration of some lightning with that, but we're not seeing too much, at least some very vague rotation that we see from our velocity mode itself. This is our reflectivity mode. Sometimes it can work a little bit better than our velocity mode as far as indicating some type of possible circulation that may be going on. But no question, a strong part of these storms located just outside of town, just west of Savannah, as it makes its way off toward the north and east. Still got some pretty good shearing, some good change in speed and direction with height for these storms that we're noticing. Still got some pretty decent convection that is going on as well. And you can see how the focus has really been generally along north of the Quad Cities and even now points to the east. So that's why we have to be concerned about some of these storms. They're still going to be, tracking. They're not going to weaken all too much. And it certainly does have enough storm or convective energy with it as well, like we're noticing right along the river and points south. So that's something that with these ingredients kind of help us out here as far as the length of our coverage itself, and more importantly, the duration of these storms as they make their way from west to east. We're right now past 6 o'clock or so. Timing has been pretty good as far as the motion with these storms, the forecast when it comes to these storms around the area, and more importantly, too, the potential of seeing some type of rotation. We're actually still noticing a possible rotation going on along Illinois 91, just north of Toulon itself. That's something we'll be keeping an eye on. If you're watching us in Bradford, you're definitely going to be seeing that storm impact you within the next few minutes or so. The storm, as it makes its way into southern Bureau County, will definitely impact Buda, even around Wyanett as well, going into parts of Bureau County. And let's not forget our friends over in Tiscawa, likely within less than 20 or even 25 minutes or so, it will be definitely impacting you. Right now, it seems, Andrew, that seems to be the more obvious storm that shows some type of rotation that's going on.
Yeah, I agree. That storm north of Savannah is kind of becoming a little bit less organized. And I see that there's a new severe thunderstorm warning now that reaches all the way up to Stevenson County and all the way up to northern Joe Daviess County for that storm. So that's kind of losing its punch. This appears to be the strongest one in terms of the rotation and the tornado threat right there in northern Stark County. Just saw another update pass through too. Looks like about, let's see if I can get the time on this. That was an impressive wind speed at 554, a 67 mile per hour wind gust measured in Prophetstown.
Wow.
With that storm as it blew through. So that wind machine living up to its name. And again, that wind is starting to head now into the Sterling Rock Falls area, hence the severe thunderstorm warning.
Let's go and let's crawl our way, drag our way up to Whiteside County there. And yeah, that looks really impressive. And I think we can go ahead and put that on. It almost seems like it's like from Morrison to Prophetstown, like a comet. It's like thrusting its way toward Sterling Rock Falls itself. And of course, looking rather impressive just north of town itself there, Andrew.
It is, and I'm going to take you to the camera there right now, which is just getting absolutely pounded with rain and wind. And it looks like, yeah, the corridor of the strongest winds just now moving into downtown Rock Falls.
And boy, I tell you, it takes a lot to move that lamppost, as well as the stoplights that we see there. We've witnessed this before, but we've rarely seen both move and shake the way they are. So there is definitely some serious wind that's going on. And if you're watching us from Sterling Rock Falls, or maybe even watching us from your phone, you definitely want to take it slow. Visibility, especially outside of town, is going to get really low as the strongest part of that storm makes its way across the Sterling Rock Falls area. A lot of lightning going on as well there too, Andrew.
Yeah, very heavy rain. Got lots of cloud-to-ground lightning with that storm. I think the hail threat has calmed down a bit. Algorithm on the radar not indicating anything huge, at least at this point. But interesting, the radar algorithm is picking up something just kind of north of Sterling and just to the north of Nelson. I'm not sure if you're seeing that, but it looks like perhaps maybe a little bit of rotation trying to get itself organized. I'll have to poke into the velocity data here and see what the radar says on our end here.
I've noticed on our GR level that there is a tornado signature, an icon that has just popped up just north of the Sterling Rock Falls area.
And you got a little bit of what we call a notch
there
in
it
that
is.
area, and that's just right on the border of Whiteside going into Lee County. So that would be up near Polo Road and north of Illinois Route 2, kind of by Emerald Hill, the golf and the country club there, north of Sauk Valley Community
What, not
College.
the country club?
Not the country club.
Oh my
no.
goodness.
We can't have anything happen with that. Velocity data, yeah, there's something trying to rotate there.
Yeah.
Kind of actually surprisingly near my mom's house. So, Mom, if you're watching, there may be some interesting movements going on in the sky there that have just developed. Because, yeah, that is just north of town there where my mom's at. So,
Mrs.
Mom,
Dusky, listen to your son.
that's right.
Listen to your son.
Time to be on the lookout here and maybe make your way towards the basement. That is a signature for sure.
No question about that. That's really the most impressive that we've seen. Not just that, but I want to make sure, our friends around Toulon too, they, of course, National Weather Service keeping an eye on some of that rotation that is going on as well. That too looks rather impressive. A nice little notch that we see just off there of Illinois 91 and 93.
Yep, and you can see it's kind of embedded in there. So I bet if you're probably chasing this thing, it's probably going to be extremely difficult to see because this has now been wrapped in rain within the mesocyclone, or the spinning, rotating area of the storm. But yeah, that's another impressive signature. Like you said, 91, 92, the intersection there north of Saxon Road. That would be eventually going right past 93 and then right into Illinois 40 eventually. Looks like it would go north of Bradford. But that, as we were talking earlier, an early heads up to Bureau County, perhaps near Wyanett, just east of Sheffield. If this thing can organize a little bit better, you're talking about it moving right up in that direction.
Oh yeah,
right up in here.
Yeah, no question about that. Let's do like an hour loop on that. I think if we can do that, then we give an idea of what we're looking at. Yeah, that is definitely heading more north than east on that case, and yeah, that will definitely impact places around Sheffield, Tuscarawas. I believe, right? We don't even have it on there. Would you say Buda would be part of that?
I would throw Buda in that as well.
Okay. Yeah, and that's so really, folks, take shelter on that. We are monitoring that. We are certainly getting that confirmed too from our friends at the National Weather Service. They're a little concerned about that circulation that we're seeing there as well. So we've got two areas where we're really keeping an eye on, just east of north and east of Sterling Rock Falls, and of course the one just outside of Toulon itself, making its way off to the northeast. It is really moving outside of Sterling right now. It's already, looks like, just west of Dixon.
Yeah, just west of Dixon there, right north of Illinois Route 2, right near the country club, where you have that rotation signature. So that's going to head into Lee County. Probably Grand Detour would be the next, outside of Dixon there, that'd be the next stop. It looks like it would go to the northern half of Dixon. And that signature has really tightened up a lot too. If you look at the other scan here, the storm relative velocity, you can see there how we have a lot of those greens and reds next to each other. I was trying to see if we could tap into the Chicago radar, and kind of indicating the same thing on their scans as well, that you've got that tightening up of the signature.
Yeah. So if you're watching us in Dixon, it may not be in our ADI, but Dixon viewers, they love watching us, and they just put out a tornado warning for that.
And there it is, for Lee County. Let's zoom in. And
great call there, Andrew.
Gosh.
Great call.
And that ramped up so quickly, too. Like you've been saying, all along, these are going to happen quickly. You really have to just keep looking at everything about every few seconds. And there it is. You've got it for Grand Detour. Doesn't include Dixon proper, but Wusung is in there. And you've got it till 6:30, and that is really tightened up.
Very much so. But making its way outside of our viewing area, and of course, that is some good news. I don't know if you were able to hear, Andrew, the rain was really coming down about a minute ago. It's really calmed down. I don't know if we can go to our either our Bridgepoint camera or even the camera on top of our station here in Moline, but that was some really heavy rain. And I'll take, my goodness, what are we looking at?
Bridgepoint.
This is the Bridgepoint camera, and it's looking out to the west.
See if we can narrow this
definitely, I can barely see right there. Part of the arsenal, I think, is right there. And that is some serious wind. What's nice is Andrew can actually get the wiper on that. I'm not sure, you know where the wiper is?
Yep.
The Bridgepoint?
There it goes. It should be in any second. There's just a few second delay between what we see and what goes on TV there. But yeah, we've got some heavy rain on the bridge for sure. You can see the ponding of the water on the pavement there.
Yeah, and you can barely see the other side of going to Iowa. You can barely see it.
Yeah, that's some
serious
really
rain, low visibility. Definitely want to take it easy out there, that's for sure. And this is right on the bridge itself.
Yeah, look at the ponding of the water. See how the cars, going so fast, they have that trail of water behind them. And that's one of those situations you got to be careful for. You can hydroplane really easily if you're not slowing down in this heavy rain. And I notice people now are starting to slow down. If you look at the Bridgepoint side, you're noticing the Iowa-bound traffic is starting to slow down compared to the other side. So at least people are kind of heeding that advice there.
Yeah, I mean, even safe to say, even going Illinois bound too. I mean, those cars are really slowing down. But no question, you can see how some of those cars now are slowing down even more because, we're at a point right now, just after 6 o'clock, people are still heading home from work or school. And so no question, we're seeing that slowdown that is taking place there, Andrew.
Yeah, and we're getting more reports in too that I'm seeing come across the screen here. Not only just that 67 mile per hour wind gust, but it looks like we also had winds of 60 miles an hour in Parkview. That was with the line as it was coming through earlier. More wind gusts being reported too, closer to 60 miles an hour in Davenport. So that final line that's coming through still indeed has some wind with it, and it's just now getting ready to move into LeClaire and now moving through Clinton. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on the Clinton camera as well. The Rock Falls camera has really quieted down here in just the last few minutes, but it looks like we're losing even more visibility on the I-74 bridge right now as this final round of rain moves through, and then we're all clear in terms of storms on the Iowa side. In fact, in just a matter of moments, you can probably call the all clear for the Iowa side of the Mississippi River.
Let's go, and I believe we have a shot out of Jackson County, the river itself, out there in the Mississippi. Or are we going to go to Morgan? Okay, let's go to Morgan's track by. Let us know where she is and what's being impacted where she's located. Morgan.
Yes, hey, we have been following the storm. We're heading to Preston where there was that reported damage. We are actually just coming up on Delmar right now, and it's quiet now, but I will say that it was exactly what you guys are seeing in the metro area. We're blinding rain and wind for quite a while as we were on 61 with this storm, but now we look to our west, you got the sunny skies starting to come in. But yeah, we are about to come up on Delmar. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go check out some of that damage that was reported. Again, reported of some buildings, trees, and some power lines potentially down in Preston as that tornadic cell was passing through.
Yeah, we'll be very concerned about the report of that damage that took place. Once again, we were talking about some buildings, some trees, power outages, some power lines that were actually down itself. So we're going to get an update on that. And this is a situation where...
Yeah, we can, we are about 15-ish minutes away. I'll definitely be able to, or be communicating with you guys in case we see anything out there.
Fantastic, fantastic, Morgan. Thank you. Yeah, in these situations, you know, sometimes when the chasing is, you know, begin to dwindle, when we hear about reports of any damage or anything like that, we want to go into safety mode. We want to get to a point where we want to see if anyone needs any help. Okay, and that's why Morgan is heading out there. Certainly want to witness some of the damage, but if there's anyone in need that needs assistance, we're going to be there as well. That's one of the things that we do when it comes to chasing. It's just not chasing tornadoes or bad storms. We're there to help anyone in the community that may have been impacted by these storms as well. All right, what do we have out here, John?
This is some video that our producer, Vanessa, just sent us. She's been working all day, but she got a chance to leave, but had to drive through all of this. So this is probably not far from the station. I'm not sure exactly which street she's on, but you can just see how difficult it is to just navigate. What's that? Say that again? Rock Island is where she's at. So, but this was really just a few moments ago. And the rain's still coming down. Obviously, we can hear it on top of a roof right here in Moline.
Yeah, it's really coming out of here. But once again, John, there's ways, or Shelby, once again, there are ways that you can send us your video and even your pictures as well.
Yeah, that's right. You can always text us at 309-304-0888 or email us as well. And just a quick update, there's not a lot of movement happening on the outages right now. We're seeing numbers stay pretty steady, except for in the Illinois Quad Cities, we're seeing a little bit more outages, close to about 60 customers impacted. Just north of Geneseo, this is over by Rustic Acres and Woodcrest. Hillsdale still has several dozen people that are without power, but the majority of power outages that we're seeing, I should say, Galesburg has a few, Clinton has about 300, but the majority is down in southeastern Iowa. You got Trenton and Packwood, Iowa, that each have about 1,000 customers without power right now.
And there's about a 500 right south of Charlotte, which is not far from where Morgan is headed. Is that right?
That is correct, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's something we'll get an update on coming up very, very shortly. Once again, we want to keep an eye on these storms that are getting ready to make his way into Princeton. You know, we have a whole bunch of chasers out there, and of course, one that we're very familiar with. He's a veteran chaser extraordinaire, I like to call him, Reed Timmer. He's actually located just west of Princeton, Illinois, and eventually making his way toward Wyandotte itself. Going to see if he can make an interception, I should say, of that storm. Now getting ready to make his way in from Stark County, going into southwestern Bureau County.
Yeah, and we still have that active tornado warning for Stark County there. And now you have that severe thunderstorm warning with the tornado possible tag reaching all the way up through Princeton because we were tracking that area of rotation. There also still is an ongoing tornado warning in southeast Knox County. This would be now east of McQuan, and that would be getting ready to head into Elmwood and then kind of outside of our coverage area as you get into Kickapoo there. But that's just another one I wanted to bring your attention to. That goes for about another 20 minutes, and then that will expire. You pull up the velocity data. You got a couple of areas in that storm.
Yeah.
The most pronounced one is actually just directly west of Elmwood, and it looks like that would cross Interstate 74 as you head into Brimfield and Jubilee. I always remember the Jubilee Cafe billboard.
Oh, I remember hearing about that too. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So right kind of in that area of I-74, it looks like you're going to get some strong rotation that's going to pass right over the interstate itself. So if you're traveling there, ooh, gosh, look out. That doesn't look too good on the radar.
No.
Very strong.
And as you go to the velocity mode here itself, that's certainly verification of that possible rotation that may be heading in that particular area. Not much that we're seeing too much in the rotation. Keep in mind, we're very much, and is this coming out of the Mount Joy Airport when it comes to the radar beam, or out of Lincoln?
So there's Mount Joy, there's Lincoln.
Okay. So, you know, we're trying to kind of pinpoint this, but it's pretty similar on both cases here. That is just south of the Interstate 74. located just, and then you can see just north of Elmwood itself.
Yeah.
As that makes its way off to the east.
Yeah, that's an impressive signature there for that one. Of course, you're watching the other one further to the north. There's where your signature is there, just southwest of Toulon. And I'm going to pull up the other. There you can see kind of more in better detail. And actually the sweeping, just updating it for us. A little bit of a tightening going on. In fact, you may have two areas that you're going to have to watch. You've got this one here, and then the potential maybe for something going on with some notchiness here. And by notchiness, we're talking about these inflow. This air being sucked into the storm and kind of leading to some rotation, but that appears to be where most of the concentration is right now.
But also what really sticks out too, Andrew, is the intensity, the brightness that we're seeing.
Yes.
Which is, if we're not seeing the rotation, we're certainly seeing a lot of wind coming down from these storms.
That is a lot of wind, especially east of Toulon, Wyoming, some strong winds. This is all heading east-northeast. So that strong rush of wind is heading right for Bradford, along with the rotation too. So right, if you're near, I'd say Illinois 40, as you get down there out of Bureau County and into obviously parts of Stark County there, that's where that rotation is heading, right for Bradford, it looks like.
Yeah, and once again, we're talking about this area right here. We're talking about this area outside of Bradford itself. And once again, all continuing to make its way off toward the north and east. And I believe we just extended, oh my goodness. Is this going to happen to me again? Is this a new warning?
That came out a little while ago.
That did come out
Yep.
a little while ago.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to get you details on this. If you are just joining us, especially if you're from the Princeton area itself, Spring Valley, you can see this is a severe thunderstorm warning that goes on until around 7 p.m. and is mainly confined for that storm that's coming out of Stark County. But no question, some very heavy rain. The strongest of that storm is still located in Stark County itself. We're just concerned about some of the rotation that we're seeing in Stark County that will eventually or may impact areas in parts of Bureau County itself. So putting a tracker on this, if you're watching us in Princeton, just before the top of the hour. Depew around 7 o'clock. There's Buda around quarter till, and about 10 minutes till it hits the Wynot area itself. At least given what we're seeing here, this may be moving more in this general direction, impacting maybe from Bradford to Buda to possibly even around Wynot. Of course, Princeton located right here, but right now, I'm sorry, I take that back. That is Princeton. But these areas right here, these towns that we see right here, and Wynot is located just west of Princeton. Certainly those are the areas of concern from this storm as it makes its way off to the north and east. So you might be hearing the sirens. Make sure you're going to your safe place. Put as many walls between you and the storm itself, as the old saying goes. But right now, the strongest part of that storm is located just around Toulon itself. The circulation is pretty much right on top of the town itself, okay? We haven't heard anything about any tornado that has reached the ground as of yet, or any funnel clouds, I should say. But no doubt what we're seeing on the radar is a concern. And that's something that we'll continue to track as it makes its way through Bureau County itself.
Yep, and I'm going to take a look at the hail potential too here. That's
sure.
something we haven't looked at for a while. Doesn't look too exciting, at least right there, but there are a couple of pockets where you could certainly see some dime size, maybe some nickel size hail, but looks like it's sub-severe right now. And overall, the hail signatures have kind of been decreasing outside of this one that's east of Sterling going into Lee County. That'll be heading into Dixon right along Interstate 88. But overall, it appears that the hail portion of the severe weather threat is starting to quickly wrap up, which is some good news. But we still have some heavy rainfall to get through. These storms down to the southwest of the Quad Cities, west of Burlington, Mount Pleasant, they haven't really been doing much. It's no surprise. We've kind of wiped away the ingredients now as the front has moved through. But these storms moving through the metro Quad Cities still packing a punch. Reminder, we had that wind gust earlier here in the Mount Joy Airport. It looks like it was close to 60 miles an hour. There was another report of a wind gust in Parkview that was 60 miles an hour. Have not seen anything new in terms of wind gusts with this line yet. But as we pull up the velocity data, you can see the leading edge of this. You're likely still talking about some winds trying to reach up to 60 miles an hour. And this is a quick moving line. 55, 60 miles an hour on the movement of this thing. So those winds definitely pack a punch if they can reach the ground. There's the storm that's now moved out of Sterling Rock Falls. We can call the all clear for you. Dixon still needs to be watching that, though, for a hail threat, especially with the southwestern portion of that storm looking very robust on radar. This severe thunderstorm warning to the north here in Mount Carroll, it just does not look that impressive anymore. It's really decreased in terms of its hail threat and its rotation threat, but it looks like still some wind with that as you go north of Lanark, perhaps reaching south of Stockton, and then that would get it into Stevenson County and into Freeport. So it looks like the northern extent of storms starting to lose their punch, outside, of course, of what's going on with the line here in the Quad Cities, which still has a wind threat, and then, of course, what's going on down here to the south and the east. But, you know, at this time, as we zoom this out, let's peel away some of the layers here. It appears at this time, just about, if not now, that the Iowa side is pretty much wrapped up.
Which is some great news to see. I mean, as these storms make their way off to the east, and maybe too that we could be seeing how the leading edge of that line could be even taking away a little bit of that punch of that second line to the west of it. Just mostly in the form of some heavy rain than anything else.
I think I agree, yeah, because you look at the velocity data and you're just not seeing those impressive yellows like what we saw earlier as the line was coming in ahead of the radar. Now you're starting to see kind of those more subdued colors. You still got some gusty winds to the northeast of that with some of that other storm activity in Whiteside County, but this is just not as nearly as impressive as it was before. And look at the view of our I-74 bridge. We're back to normal, it looks like.
Yeah, more importantly, the visibility looks much, much better. Had a picture that I just sent to our producers in the booth over in Mount Carroll. Maybe we'll show it maybe on the 10 o'clock newscast itself, but some nice, looks like quarter size to even ping pong size hail that took place right near Mount Carroll itself as that storm now is making its way outside of Carroll County. So that is some fairly good news. I think really, Andrew, the biggest concern that we have is some of the damage that we've been hearing about. And Shelby or John, let's tell us a little bit about this picture we see here.
Yeah, this is a good example of probably some wind damage. This is in Davenport. This was sent to us just a little while ago, and you can see that fairly large broken branch that has fallen onto the deck of this house. It doesn't look like it caused much damage, which is really good news. It'll be a hassle to try to get that untangled and all chopped up. You were also talking about the hail and sort of looking at some of the size of that. I just want to show you something from Thompson.
Oh, wow.
This was helpful. And it's so interesting to see this kind of just smaller bits of hail that seem to have fused together. That's what it almost looks like. But you got about 3 inches there per that measurement.
Close to tennis ball size hail, or, you know, I mean, golf ball, tennis ball size. That's really, really impressive. Yeah.
And this is out of Clinton. So that seems even larger.
Oh, my.
No measurement there, so we can't know the exact proportions, but you know, you still don't want to see that coming down. Although it looks sunny there at this point.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think with those storms that moved on by, but would you say, Andrew, that's more like at least golf ball size?
That is at least golf ball size, yep. I agree.
And that's been very, very common with some of these storms that have been making their way across the area. Fantastic, getting all these wonderful pictures. And once again, Shelby or John, where can people send in their videos or even these pictures?
You can always reach us at news@wqad.com. You can also always text us, 309-304-0888. We have a whole team of people in the newsroom right now that are going over all of those texts and emails that are coming in. They're monitoring our social medias, our Facebook messages as well. Right now we got about 2,000 people in the greater QCA that are without power right now, about 800 that we can see near Charlotte though. So that's kind of the biggest cluster in our immediate viewing area. But at Mid-American, you got about 150 people, mostly on the Illinois side, kind of near Hillsdale and just north of Geneseo.
Yeah, I think we had in the immediate Quad Cities alone, at least over at Mount Joy. And maybe we can get I'll see if we get an update over at the Quad City International Airport, but we did get reports of winds in the immediate Quad Cities reaching around 60 miles an hour or so. So certainly enough that it can certainly cause some damage when you're dealing with that kind of situation there. Let me see if I can pop up the information that came from the Quad City International Airport and some of those wind gusts that looks like did get as high as 40 miles an hour that took place right around or close to 5:30 or so. That's kind of what I'm seeing right there. Do you see any difference in that, Andrew?
That's what I'm seeing for the Quad Cities International Airport. If you go to the Davenport Airport, a wind gust of 56 miles an hour at 5:52.
Yeah, so certainly enough to cause a little bit of some damage, as indicated by that one picture that we saw out of Davenport, where and a decent little tree limb that fell. You know, another thing too, Andrew, and of course, what we're going to be checking out, really the only big storm that I think, and when it comes to our viewing area of concern, is that tornado warning that we see in parts of Stark County that eventually will graze areas around Henry County. I think that's the biggest concern that we see going into the next possibly half an hour or so.
Yeah, the line that's coming through the Quad Cities and exiting us now has lost a lot of its punch in terms of its wind speeds. This has really lost a lot of energy here up in Carroll County and up in Stevenson County. So I think it's safe to say those areas, your threat is diminishing quickly. Even the lightning counts are coming down quickly because that storm that's now in Ogle County and Lee County further east is starting to eat up all the energy. So it's taking away from that secondary line, like James said, that is trying to move through now. So yeah, I think your main focus right now is on that storm that's coming out of extreme southeast Knox County, now kind of making its way through Peoria County, and then into Stark County, where you've got that tornado warning, and that's where we've been seeing the rotation signatures at times, and there's been multiple signatures. It's kind of hard to even start with, okay, which one do you want to even pick out as being the most concerning right now? But you can see maybe 3 distinct areas where you need to watch for rotation with that line of storms. So, you know, putting a track on that, let me get the reflectivity up here because it makes a little bit more sanity in all of that mess of what's going on with all these signatures. Where this thing is going to go, you know, I think you're looking at likely some rotation here. And also another little notch up here on the edge of that polygon that I'm drawing. But yeah, you're heading in this direction. Would it reach as far north as Princeton? Probably. You're probably talking south of that, kind of closer to Putnam County. But there you see some of those locations that we were talking about earlier. Eventually, probably after 7 o'clock at this point, before it starts re-entering parts of southern Bureau County and then getting into Putnam County.
So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that as far as we'll see how the loops go here. But we're certainly going to stay in coverage just because of that polygon warning, that tornado warning that we see in Starks County, but also going into Bureau County itself. That particular tornado warning, once again, goes until about 7:15 or so. So over half an hour to go before that threat is all said and done. You know, Andrew, I want to go ahead and point out too that, you know, we're not quite done with this severe weather threat. In fact, since I've known you, it's been a while since we've been in a situation where we're going to be going back to back in, you know, severe weather coverage. And we're not just talking about tonight, but likely talking about even going into Friday night. But the you know, parameters are a little bit different, what we're expected to see going into tomorrow night.
Exactly, yeah. This is going to be a 1-2 punch. I haven't had a ton of time to look at tomorrow because, of course, we've been so focused on today. But, yeah, you can see it's another day where we've got this 3 out of 5 hanging out in southwest Iowa. The tornado threat is also higher in that location, so it's not widespread like it is here. It's more limited to areas on the Iowa side of the river. It's the same thing with the wind and the hail threat, mostly limited to the Iowa side. But what we think is going to happen in terms of the process is we're going to push the timing back later than what we saw today. So maybe a little bit later, a little bit longer of a night for most of us tomorrow, because instead of a 3-4 o'clock start time, we're talking about something coming in significantly later than that. And let me kind of get up through the pause points here. Notice that, you know, this is now after 7 o'clock that we're talking about that next severe weather threat. And likely what's going to happen is you'll start off with supercells in south central Iowa. Those are your big hail, big wind, big tornado producers. They'll then merge together and form a line or two. And then we'll be dealing with that line probably, and this has been consistent, 8, 9 o'clock. Coming into the Quad Cities with a wind and embedded tornado threat. That's the setup tomorrow.
Right. You know, another thing, too, that we've been monitoring as well in these past few days when it comes to this second wave is the position of not just that area of low pressure, not just that cold front that's going to help this particular line, but we'll also have to keep an eye on that warm front. It's been fairly active at times when we've been looking at the models themselves. extending east into Illinois. And the difference that when we talk about when it comes to areas of convection, but also areas where tornado-producing storms are likely, you would normally see that more on a warm front than you would see more of a cold front, at least those stronger levels of tornadoes that pop up along that warm front.
Yeah, and I've noticed too in the newer run here versus what we looked at this morning, that warm front is creeping further north. Runs this morning had it all the way down in Burlington and Mount Pleasant, but now our new run here on the in-house model has that warm front creeping up to the I-80 corridor. That is going to be important when it comes to that isolated storm chance early in the evening. If we can get a storm to pop early in the evening ahead of the main line, that would bring in your tornado threat. And then we'd have the cold front come in, and we're talking about more of a line of storms. But that's interesting that we've snuck that warm front a little bit further to the north. Could that mean the 3 out of 5 may expand a little further north with the new update tomorrow morning? That's something we'll have to wait and see.
That's right. I mean, we've been noticing on the house models, it shows some discrete cells popping up, but then when it updates itself, it's virtually gone, but then comes back again on these models. It's been kind of on and off, and that's something we'll have to keep something to definitely keep an eye on going into the evening hours. You see how those clusters will be taking place just off to the west of us by around 6:30 or so. Let's do this and pop me back up here. There we go. Just go back to 6:30. You got this at 7:30, and I just want to show people what Andrew and I have been discussing a little bit, and he's been discussing it as well, definitely on his Ask Andrew segment on the News 8 Plus app. Your cold front's right here, but what we're not seeing is a warm front that's going to be just extending east of that, okay? And any warm front that you see in these situations with the variables that are going on, the severe weather parameters that we see a lot more turn, a lot more spin that go on along a warm front that we do so much with the cold front itself. That's what we're really concerned. And right now, it only shows maybe a couple of cells. And these ones we still have to, and interrupt me anytime, Andrew, on this, but this is going to be an area that we also have to really be concerned about.
No, you are absolutely right. That's right along that warm front. It's got all that warm air to the south of it, and then, yeah, that rotation right along the boundary. Those are the storms you worry about.
Yes, because there's a good amount of spin that usually takes place when you have just the right conditions. But no question, we could be talking about some supercell thunderstorms along I-80 itself. Doesn't look as impressive, but it's well ahead of the front itself. It's not being interacted, being closed off. When it comes to that warm, unstable level of instability, level of convection to deal with that level of energy, that's just something to keep an eye on. Certainly, out of the two, this really is more pronounced as far as the heavy rain is concerned, embedded couplets that may be developing within this line. And no question, as we get later and later at night, and this is showing around 9:30, this may be turning into more of a wind threat. Damaging wind threat than anything, as we're kind of losing those discrete cells and becoming more linear or more of a line effect that we're seeing throughout all along and east of the river itself. So, we may be on the air real late tomorrow evening, maybe close to midnight or so, as these storms will be pushing in. But keep in mind, there's always some fine tuning that is going on with these storms, the timing, the evolution of these storms, the amount of instability when it comes to the convective energy, the helicity, when it comes to the spin of the column of air itself, its rate. So I can go on, and all of these variables can certainly change just enough to affect the timing and the evolution of these storms. But what has been really consistent is the supercell storms that may be popping up in areas around southeastern Iowa. Those are the storms that we'll be keeping an eye on. And depending on its speed and its duration itself, this may expand even more off to the north and east. And eventually tomorrow, we'll get an idea about tornado intensity, going with the SIG and determining, who could eventually see not just where tornadoes could potentially pop up in an isolated version like today, but also the strength of the tornado that we could potentially see as well.
Lots we're going to learn tomorrow.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of things. Sounds like we got Morgan again. at the beast with some damage. Hey, Morgan.
Oh yeah, hey. So we made it into Preston, and it didn't take much time to find the damage, I will say. So right now this is a look at a dumpster. I believe this came from where we are across the street in this little gas station area. That's where I think it came from. But it also looks like it took down a sign with it. And then we also have a large branch over by our photographer Art right there, who is getting some of that B-roll for us. And then behind it, I'm going to try to zoom in as much as possible. That's actually a large pine tree that was uprooted and is on its side now. We also passed a trampoline that was completely destroyed. Seen a couple of police officers roaming around, so there could be definitely some other damage around here, but definitely for sure some strong winds made its way through this area, if not maybe some rotation, because I know that we were following the storm or tracking it very closely, and there was definitely some rotation at that time making its way through this area.
Yeah, and once again, if we go back to that shot again, Morgan, where you saw that other tree uprooted, it almost seems like I saw a power line in there as well. Is there a power line that's down there?
That's what I was thinking too. I saw something like a power line like-ish.
Yep, there it is.
Oh yeah, that's what it looks like.
Oh yeah.
There it is. So I'd be, I'd be curious.
Me, and I'm even here.
I just eat a lot of carrots. Try to improve my eyesight as best I can at my age. But that sure looks like definitely a power line that's down, and could be even several more, because there have been numerous reports out of Preston of some power lines that were down, and of course some of the tree damage or limbs that have been reported as well, as you're showing right there.
Yeah, I think I look around, I definitely see quite a bit of, at least, not large limbs, but definitely some debris from trees that have been knocked down from this storm too. I think our plan here is to kind of roam around, see what we can find damage-wise. I definitely want to get some of those reports to our friends at the National Weather Service too, as they're going to be gathering a lot of that information as well.
Yeah, no question about it. Morgan, thank you so much. Great job. Thank you for finding out what really took place over in Preston, given the reports that we've seen. And of course, in Princeton, definitely getting some sun from the storms that have now passed away off toward the east. My goodness, got some more damage here. John, what do we have here?
So this is another uprooted tree. This one is in Galesburg. You can see the roots there, but I want to show you the whole tree and just to see how large this thing is. Look at that, and it is just at a 45-degree angle. I'm trying to figure out, it doesn't look like there's anything in its path, but certainly it can be tricky when it is in that position and not all the way down, because it can certainly react to gravity at any moment. So this will be a tricky situation, but it looks like there's no buildings. It looks like just more trees and maybe just a fence off to the right-hand side of this property in Galesburg. Yeah,
it's no surprise. I mean, given all this rain that we've seen, and keep in mind, from yesterday, we had reports of close to an inch of rain that was very isolated in nature. Oh, I should say on Tuesday it was. And then with that rain that came in, that was quite heavy, kind of maybe have soaking up the ground so much, made it very soft. So with those winds that we saw in many of these storms that were around 45 to even close to 60 miles an hour, didn't take much for this particular tree to get uprooted just for a little bit. But no question, that is one impressive sight indeed.
Yeah, I think you're right about the ground saturation and being a little bit easier to uproot these trees now, especially the ones that have the shallow roots. Doesn't take a whole lot of wind when we've had as much rain as we've had in the last couple of days. That's still very impressive, though, and goes to show you the magnitude of the winds. Just wrapping up a couple of warnings. Everything north of Interstate 80, way north, at least in our viewing area, is done. Those warnings in Carroll County, Joe Davis County, they've wrapped up. Everything's moved off to the east. None of this moving into Henry County near Geneseo is warned, and none of it is severe. Just some heavy rain coming back into Prophetstown south of Morrison. None of that warned and not expected to be warned because we're losing a lot of the energy now. Still, the main show just now getting into our easternmost hometown. So I'd say we probably have about another 10 minutes or so to go.
Right.
And then you can probably call the all clear in terms of this event. I'll go back into the velocity just one more time just to make sure that there's nothing funky going on with this storm that's getting out of Stark County there. Pull that back up because we've had some interesting signatures on this thing from time to time. And it still looks like you have some broad areas of rotation just outside of the viewing area now, southeast of Bradford. You have some other broad areas of rotation too, south of Tuscaloosa. And also way south of Princeton. It looks like Princeton's actually getting some gusty winds right now with that part of the storm. The hail threat, though, continuing to decrease, though it is increasing right there along the I-80 corridor east of town, east of Princeton. So heads up there. That's going to be heading to the northeast. You could talk about that getting into Lamoille here shortly. And you've got Arlington on there, too. Potential of seeing some quarter-size hail with that little hail core moving through. But other than that, this map is looking a whole lot cleaner than it was about an hour ago.
So what we're going to eventually do, folks, is in about less than 10 minutes or so, we'll be going back to network. That will be right about 7 o'clock or so. Otherwise, we'll certainly be updating you on News 8 at 10 on any other reports that we have seen so far. But no question, this is really the last of the wave from this event that has been taking place for the past few hours or so. Getting some nice, maybe those shelf clouds that everybody's seeing where that warm air that we had throughout the afternoon is lifting going into the storm. But then we see that darker color. If we go to that wind velocity real quick, you'll be able to kind of see this. Actually, but you can see that the green that we have here, maybe the warm air that's lifting ahead of that shelf cloud itself, and then you have the strong winds coming down just below it, producing maybe some of that blinding rain, but nothing that is really sticking out like we saw in parts of Stark County earlier on. But nonetheless, something to be aware about for areas just now east of Princeton, heading in toward around Putnam County as well. If we could actually do this too, since we got just one point, again, a little bit more time left, Andrew, if we can actually show everyone the storm reports that we might have gotten, and we're able to show this with certain icons showing maybe where heavy rain is, possible tornadoes that have taken place, wind, hail, you name it. There are a bunch of icons here. So, Andrew, I'm going to let you take control of this, but certainly some red marks that we saw there, red icons that really took place mainly just west of the Quad Cities and even outside of Galesburg as well. So we can kind of review what has taken place here in these past few hours.
Yeah, let's kind of work our way from west to east as the storms were evolving. And right off the bat, you had the first report of a possible tornado here north of Washington, kind of east of Kyoto. There were so many storm chasers just jammed in that region as that first report of the tornado came down here. And that all transpired just a little bit after 4 o'clock this afternoon. With a tornado near the ground. Then that same storm raced to the northeast, getting close to West Branch into Rochester there with a report of a confirmed tornado. So it appears the National Weather Service has at least 2, maybe 3 surveys they're going to have to be conducting here when it comes to that tornado damage. Possibly one for the Illinois office as well, because look at this. You've got a report of a possible tornado in Galesburg, which was an area that we were spending quite a bit of time on as that area of rotation was moving through. That was at 5, a little bit after 5:30. It looks like that was reported outside the Public Safety Building on Broad Street in Galesburg, right downtown. So that might be another area worth investigating if we see some damage reports. Back here, closer to home in the Quad Cities, we had a few wind reports in Scott County. Those were consistently between 50 and 60 miles an hour. There's the 56 at the airport. To the north of that, you've got a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust in Parkview. Actually, a report of quarter-size hail in Moline, so it looks like we just missed that here at the station. I don't recall hearing any hail anyway.
Just a lot of rain.
Just a lot of rain, yeah. Almost 1-inch hail in Coyne Center. Some other 1-inch hail reports. You've got them in Carbon Cliff. And I'm going to poke up here a little bit farther. There was one report, maybe it was this one. Nope, that was 1 inch. I swore at one point I saw 1.75 for the
Yes.
hail size somewhere in our area. And I'm backtracking on my radar right now to see if I can find it really quickly on the fly, but it's probably not going to cooperate and let me see it. So, oh, there it is. It's up in Thompson. Maybe I
okay.
can go up in Thompson there in Carroll County, and there it is right there. We can click on that. And I think that's the largest size hail that I've seen reported so far, 1.8 inches. That's just below hen egg size hail.
Yeah, and even looks like outside of Mount Carroll as well, that took place around 6:13. A few trees that were reported down there, and some pretty good rainfall that looks like it took place out in Mount Carroll as well. Some thunderstorm wind damage, as we mentioned, just west of Mount Carroll.
Yeah, I can't wait to add up these rainfall totals for the entire week, by the way,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I think there's going to be some really impressive numbers coming out of there. There's your 67-mile-per-hour wind gust in Prophetstown, 56 miles per hour at the Whiteside County Airport south of Rock Falls. And I also got several pictures, too, from viewers in Rock Falls of quarter size, if not slightly larger hail that fell with that storm as it moved through as well. Kind of interested in that rainfall report. What have we got here? An inch of rain estimated from radar on the time on that. Yeah, I've had a couple of you, one in Prophetstown too, saying an inch and a tenth of rain from that storm that went through earlier. So those things were bringing some very, very heavy rainfall.
And going to bring in some nice greenery on our yards as well, because that's going to be awfully nice. Things are really greening up out there with all this rain that we've seen just in the from this event itself. Of course, when you see that forest green color as indication, radar estimate of maybe around an inch of rain. And of course, where we see any of that yellow, definitely around 2 inches, and looks like the heaviest took place from those storms that made its way right along the Highway 34 corridor and just near the Quad Cities itself. So nice rainfall to see, given the fact that we still have one more wave of thunderstorm activity to go heading into tomorrow. We could very likely see these same rainfall amounts going into about tomorrow night, because after that, things will be looking pretty dry going throughout the rest of our holiday weekend and even a good chunk of next week as well. It really won't be until sometime later on, later in the next week. I think we're talking about maybe Thursday or Friday that we bring our next round of some wet weather across the area. And eventually around that time as well is when we expect to see some warmer temperatures. We are going to see a cool down in those numbers, rather breezy conditions going into the upcoming Easter weekend itself. And then we'll see those temperatures warm back up from the 50s to maybe upper 60s to even around 7 degrees as well. So big swing in numbers still continues, and no surprise, Andrew, for this time of year.
Yeah, and the wind, I told folks this morning, if you're Easter egg hunts, you better weigh those eggs down. Maybe with some quarters. Don't be putting just dollar bills, because those are going to be your neighbor's dollar bills if they're not secured down. Those will be blowing all over the place. So word of advice, put some of the heavier coins in your Easter eggs. It's going to be very windy on Sunday.
Yeah, some kids are going to get a little rich, I think, if people do that. Yeah, me included. I wouldn't be mind part of that. That's for sure. Nonetheless, things are beginning to calm down nicely, and of course, we'll stress again here that we are continuing to get information from viewers themselves, not just pictures, but also videos as well, and certainly something that we are going to address coming up at News 8 at 10. We're also going to be addressing, too, when it comes to that second wave of storms, even as we speak, new house models are coming on in, determining as far as the timing, the intensity of these storms. That's something that we're going to be keeping a close watch on, and that we're focusing a bit differently compared to today. I think it's going to be more of a Friday night event for us here locally, whereas farther west as you go, it may be starting as more of a late afternoon. So here's a great example of that with this threat tracker that Andrew put together. Of course, we've already gone through the situation from these storms today, and you can see how much of a difference it is going later in the day. Really, the peak of it is expected between, I would say, 7 to about maybe even close to midnight itself, okay? The timing, the duration, the speed of these storms is going to play such a critical role that there's going to be some fine-tuning involved as we head into these next 24 hours. And then after this wave moves on through, then things begin to quiet down. But Andrew, we still expect to see all modes of severe weather in play, even when it comes to this final wave.
That's right. One more round tomorrow. Everything from the wind gusts to an embedded tornado threat. Warm front as well could pose a threat earlier in the evening if we can get the right ingredients. So we will be keeping an eye on the placement of the warm front and, of course, everything else that's coming together tomorrow. One last warm day for a while, too, until we get to next week, including the 70s. So that's something we'll be watching. Another busy day, but like I said, I think we're up for a later night tomorrow. And you know what? That's okay because it's Friday night and I don't have to be up early on Saturday. So you guys can keep me all you want tomorrow night. That's fine.
Hey, as long as you're able to get that nap in going in the afternoon, then I'll be very comfortable itself. But certainly want to thank everyone who's been helping out here when it comes to the programming that's been going on. Of course, our producers in the booth have been doing a heck of a job. John and Shelby at the desk, everyone that's in the newsroom, and you couldn't ask for a better way to end our coverage by this double rainbow, John, that just recently took place.
Yeah, this is at Bureau County.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so thank you to Michaela Noter for sending that in.
And keep sending in those pictures, folks. We would love to see those. Of course, we'll have a gallery all set up on our WQAD webpage as well. So thank you so much, everyone. And once again, we'll be giving you another update coming up on News 8 at 10. We'll see you then.